How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you?
That's difficult to answer.
Eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital.
That's difficult to answer.
this the end? There's a noise inside my head of crying people facing death. Is this the end? Is this the end? Oh, I'm burning in the dystopia. There's no place to hide. I'm burning in the dystopia. This is the final fight. What have we done to the world? What have we done to the world? I'm burning in the dystopia. There's no place to hide. I'm burning in the dystopia. This is the final
Who the fuck is Karlyn? She's just some sweet lady. She's like in a knitting. She does like a knitting stream. She's like a knitting YouTuber. She does knitting.
Can we grow up a little bit and
Alt
not
Girl
be
sent $200.
retarded?
Have you
Please.
seen the work of Karlyn Borysenko? Anti-commie cult leader and is obsessed with looking at what actual far-left communists are talking about and organizing today, infiltrating them. They infiltrated the universities, schools, media. She has the receipts to back it up. Primary source evidence. Infestation is dire and she calls Republicans idiots eating slop. Agree.
Thank you for the big super chat. Yeah, oh, I know Karlyn B. She's solid. She's funny. I
The
like
great
her.
noticer sent 200.
Literally.
So
Not
it's,
Ian.
it's not because
Yeah.
I haven't dangled my junk into the combat zone on purpose to get some camera footage, but that's the big part of what's the
Is that
problem.
what you call reporters?
Go
and live
under, if
streaming?
you're going to do it,
Yeah,
go
seriously.
undercover. Otherwise you're wearing a hunk of meat in a lion's den. Nick Shirley, I love you. Take care of yourself, man. Karlyn Borysenko went undercover. Do stuff like that. Like if you want to expose this thing, don't pariah,
But
please.
Ian, here's and I agree with you to an extent.
What does I don't know. This might be coded, but I'm not sure. What does a Gnostic sex cult have to do with the far left's goal? This guy named Bot is going off about this Gnostic sex cult. What that?
And so we're just not going to answer that question.
Okay,
except
so
for-
that's I figured that. So we're just okay. That's why.
James Lindsay is obsessed with lying to his audience. Well, crazy things can he get them to believe? He does it irresponsibly to pocket all that money from the Mills for Liberty. The left hates capitalism, but James won't admit it. He refuses to believe queer theory destabilizes normativity, gender binary, and the nuclear family. James blocks the truth, smears people who try to show him, creates an echo chamber for himself to reinforce his fantasy. He used to believe in something. What happened? Mills for Liberty. Gnostic sex cult, building his own world. A Gnostic sex cult, unhinged from reality, totally lost in what can we do? But mock him relentlessly. It's not a Gnostic sex cult, James. No, it's not. Stop lying to your audience. No, it's not. It's not Gnostic, James. Mary Nardini tells us queer liberation means the annihilation of capitalism. capitalism. Catch up, change, whiteness means capitalism. Queer theory hates capitalism. Whiteness means capitalism. Queer theory hates capitalism. Whiteness means capitalism. It's all about capitalism. Everyone knows it's capitalism. The socialists know it's capitalism. Wake up, change. It's capitalism. Whoa. The socialists know it's capitalism. Wake up, change. It's capitalism. It's all about capitalism. Everyone knows it's capitalism. The socialists know it's capitalism. Wake up, change. It's capitalism. It's capitalism. To pocket all that money from the mills for liberty. The left hates capitalism, but James won't admit it. He refuses to believe queer theory stabilizes normativity, the gender binary and the nuclear family. But James blocks the truth, smears people who try to show him, creates an echo chamber for himself to reinforce his fantasy. To believe in something, what happens for liberty? Gnostic sex cult filling its own world. Gnostic sex cult unhinged from reality. It's totally lost it. What can we do but mock him relentlessly?
What's up? What's up? I would never go live without unmuting my microphone. I'm a professional streamer on the internet. As you guys know, I would never, ever go live and forget to unmute my microphone. I'm a professional. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. What's up, guys? I'm sorry to be late. I went outside. It is like 75 degrees in New Hampshire today. And I have an outlet mall like down the street from my house. And so I was like, you know what I'm going to do? It's so nice. It's so nice. It's like the first really nice day in New Hampshire. I'm going to go walk around outside at the outlet mall wearing my Nick Fuentes t-shirt and my Bulgari lightning bolt special edition bag that does actually have a lightning bolt on it. So it goes perfectly with the Nick Fuentes t-shirt. And so I went to the outlet mall. I walked around for a little while and then I got stuck in traffic on the way home. Because apparently everyone else was outside too, and the traffic was really bad getting home, and that is why I am late. And then I had to figure out what to watch, and you know what? This is where we landed. We landed on the woke right. We are doing woke right content today. Yeah. You know what? We haven't heard the James Lindsay Gnostic Sex Cult song in a while, so I thought it was time to bring it back. Hey, Liberty, thanks so much for the super chat. Thanks for that super chat as well, Deets. Karlyn, I've been binge watching your classes on Substack. Really appreciate your time, effort, and knowledge. I appreciate that. I'm going to be updating those classes this year, hopefully finishing the book I have to write to expand on those classes. If you guys want to know what Liberty is talking about, you can find what I think he is talking about over on my Substack. That is Karlyn, KARLYN.substack.com. Click on new to my work, start here. And then the very first place you want to start is the re-education class, an anti-communist introduction to the far left. This is a 90-minute crash course in the language of the far left. It uses over a dozen clips from leftist trainings that I've recorded over the years to show you what's really going on using their language so that you can start to understand them as they understand themselves and start to understand the language of the leftist cult that we are dealing with. If you like that one, you can watch the 4-hour How to Speak Socialist class. This goes into much greater depth on all the different topics. That is why it's 4 hours long. And if you really want to get to the good stuff, you can do an introduction to queer Marxism, the far left's most dystopian ideology, which is an hour-long lecture I gave explaining the development and the evolution of queer Marxism. Thanks UW to Deeds for the channel membership. Really appreciate that. Guys, I'm not going to do a channel membership goal today just because we're having a little bit more of a laid back stream. But if you want to send in channel memberships to support my work, remember, I am 100% funded by you. I cannot do this stuff unless you guys allow me to do it. I usually don't do channel membership goals on streams where we're watching non-leftist content. But of course, all channel membership donations, all super chats, that does go to fund the work I'm doing. And I really appreciate it. While you're over on the Substack, make sure you sign up for this class. And this is a free class I'm giving on March 22nd to teach people basically what we're going to do is we're going to set up a group of people where everyone is going to the No Kings protests all over the country. The next No Kings protest is on March 28th. They're expecting about 9 million people to show up at that. So it's going to be a really big event. And what I want to give people the opportunity to do is to go to the No Kings protest, which is not the far left. It's not the far left at all. They're a progressive group. It's going to be a progressive protest. But what that means is it's a relatively safe environment to practice. You're not going to be in danger going to a No Kings protest. If you go undercover at a revolutionary socialist event or you try to get into an Antifa group and you say or do something stupid because you're inexperienced, you might actually get the shit kicked out of you. You're probably not going to get the shit kicked out of you at a No Kings protest, which is why we're using it to practice. I'm getting a group of people together all over the country who are going to be going to the protests in their own area, not only to see what's going on at the protests, but to see what far left groups are there, to try to suss out far left propaganda, to look at stickers, graffiti, pamphlets, zines. Look at all the different groups that are showing up to try to recruit and radicalize, because although the No Kings protest is a progressive protest, it still does attract elements of the far left because they use these as opportunities to recruit and radicalize to their cause. And so we're going to go and I'm going to do a training on March 22nd, which is a Sunday. I'm doing it on a Sunday afternoon. So hopefully, most people won't be working. You have that time free. Of course, you will be able to watch it on demand afterwards if you want. It's totally free. It's just to give you some tips and tricks on how to do this. And then hopefully getting people to actually go to the No Kings protest in their area to gather intel, report back to the community. We are building the largest all volunteer intelligence organization covering the far left on the internet. And in order to do that, I need to train an army of people to go undercover at these types of events. And so that is what we are going to do. That's what we're going to do. But today I couldn't help myself. Because a bunch of you sent me this video where I don't like this guy. Whatifalthist history. I don't like this guy. Let me just be very clear. I don't like this guy. I have watched some of his content before, and the last time I watched his content, I was completely and totally unimpressed, if I'm being honest. Hey, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. Literally the best educational podcast on the left. Thank you for opening my eyes. You're the best. Hey, listen, I'm gonna put my Substack in the background here. And I'm gonna do. Hang on, we're gonna do this. I'm gonna take a screenshot of this. I'm gonna use it for my own purposes later. I appreciate the super chat. Cool. Now I got that screenshot. We don't want James Lindsay in that screenshot. People might get confused. I appreciate that. And by the way, just as an aside, to the asshole who came into the chat before the stream even started and said, he doesn't agree with James Lindsay. I ruined the ending for you. Ha ha. Well, enjoy your permanent block, asshole, because that's a great way to get permanently blocked on my channel. Listen, I have had so many retards in my feed lately, not just on Twitter. We're going to talk about that in a second. And Naruto, thank you for the super chat here. I appreciate it. Candace will retweet you, but won't unblock you. Yeah, let's talk about that, actually. Let's talk about that because most of the retards currently in my Twitter feed are there because of Candace Owens. So last night, we found out that Trump is appointing Erica Kirk to the board of the Air Force Academy. And you know what? I gotta say, as someone who worked in higher education for 10 years, I worked in higher ed for 10 years. I worked for all sorts of different colleges, including the Ivy Leagues. I then went and did consulting for an organization that served colleges. I then, once I launched my own organizational psychology practice, actually ran college board retreats. There are not many people who have the type of experience in higher education that I have. I started working in higher education pretty much immediately upon graduating from college. I went to work in college admissions. Then I was working in college marketing, and then I worked in college fundraising. I was one of the first people using social media to recruit and market universities in the United States. This was back a long ass fucking time ago. We're talking when Facebook opened up to be available to like people who didn't have a .edu email address. That is how long ago I was doing some of this stuff in colleges. I then worked for a consulting company where I was what they would call the leadership content director. I created content and advised leaders at colleges and universities all over the country. Then when I became a full-time organizational psychologist, I actually was someone that colleges hired to run their executive retreats and run their fucking board retreats. So I'm not, I don't think I'm coming at this from an uneducated position. Oh, by the way, P.S. I also have a PhD in organizational psychology. I don't think I'm coming at this from an uneducated, unexperienced position. Why the ever-loving fuck is Erica Kirk being appointed to the board of the Air Force Academy? That makes no godly sense at all. The board of a university runs the university. They make the hiring decisions and the operational decisions in terms of the overall strategic direction, vision, and budget for the university. This is not the type of thing that you appoint someone to as a vanity exercise. The board of a university is a serious thing that dictates the direction and the future of the university. So I'm sorry, what qualifications does Erica Kirk have to be on the board of the Air Force Academy? And by the way, I'm getting so sick of MAGA retards in my replies going, you don't even know what a board is. Oh, I don't know what a board is. Oh, I don't know what a board is. I'm sorry, MAGA retard. You work at some menial minimum wage job and you think you understand what the board of a university is. I worked in higher education for 10 years, advised college executives, advised boards, did executive retreats, did board training, and have a PhD in organizational psychology. But I don't know what a board is? No, MAGA retards. No. If you think that Erica Kirk has the qualifications to be appointed to the board of the Air Force Academy, then you are the ones with derangement syndrome. And I don't know why this is even controversial, if I'm being honest about it. This is downright retarded. Well, she was taking Charlie Kirk's spot. That's not how this fucking works. That's not how this works. She has no... Okay, listen, I don't even think Charlie Kirk was qualified to be on the board of the Air Force Academy, if I'm being very honest about it. But Charlie Kirk, sure as shit, had a lot more qualifications for that position than Erica Kirk does. They are not the same person. Erica doesn't just magically inherit the qualifications of Charlie Kirk because she was married to him. Listen, my husband is smart at very many things. My husband doesn't know what I fucking do day to day. And if I happen to die, my husband probably wouldn't be able to get in to just sit down in this chair and do what I do because he doesn't know what I do day to day. And guess what? I can't, if my husband were to die, I can't just go to the car dealership that he works at and start selling cars. I have no fucking idea what he does all day. So this idea that just because someone is married to someone else, that automatically they inherit the qualifications of the other person. I'm sorry. Are we living in fucking Fantasyland? This makes no godly sense at all. So I retweeted this. And I said, rather in jest, if I'm being honest about it, rather in jest, I said, okay, I believe Candace Owens now. Sometimes I like to make jokes on the internet. Well. I don't want to see the activity of this. Well. Candace Owens retweeted me. And now here's where it gets really interesting. If we go into Candace Owens' account here, Candace Owens has me blocked. Now, Candace can retweet me because I do not have Candace blocked. You can see right here, I don't have Candace blocked. I could block her, but I haven't. I don't have Candace blocked. Candace has me blocked. And Candace has me blocked because I interviewed Nicole Arbor like 4 years ago after Candace Owens secretly recorded Nicole Arbor and was threatening to release those recordings. And then Nicole Arbor called Candace out on it. And quite frankly, I don't even actually care about all of that drama between Candace Owens and Nicole Arbor. But this is why Candace blocked me. It's from drama years ago where Candace did something shady to Nicole Arbor. I interviewed Nicole Arbor about it. Candace got pissed off that I interviewed Nicole Arbor about it. And Candace proactively sought me out to block me. Now, quite frankly, I didn't really care about that at the time. I actually thought it was kind of fucking funny that Candace specifically sought me out to block me because I never was in Candace's replies. I think I maybe replied to 2 tweets of Candace in my entire life. And I thought the whole thing was kind of funny. Now, fast forward probably, what was it? Maybe a year and a half after that. And does anyone remember when I was on the Twitter space with Jeremy Boring and Nick Fuentes, when I was the first person that got Jeremy Boring to admit that he fired Candace Owens because she wouldn't support Israel? Does anyone remember this? One in the chat if you remember when I was the person that got Jeremy Boring to admit on a Twitter space that he fired Candace Owens because she didn't support Israel. Does anyone remember that? Anyone remember that? One in the chat if you remember that. Yeah, that happened. And so I bring this up to say, I don't actually have any personal animosity towards Candace. I never have had personal animosity towards Candace. I quite frankly don't give a fuck. But it's not as though I haven't done Candace like a solid on that one, because Candace really should have unblocked me when I got Jeremy Boring to admit that he fired Candace because she wouldn't support Israel. I think that she should have unblocked me for that. She didn't. Then we watched Candace's USS Liberty stuff, and I really liked that a lot. And after we watched Candace's USS Liberty stuff, I actually sent Candace a message through her website. And I said, Candace, like, you have me blocked on Twitter. It's because of old bullshit. I would like to put all that aside and just start fresh. I think your USS Liberty content was good. I think you might actually like some of the content I have. I would really like if you could unblock me on Twitter and we could just, start fresh, and bygones are bygones and like whatever. I don't really fucking care. I was willing to put all this shit behind me. Candace never responded and I didn't get unblocked on Twitter. So the thing of it is, here's the point that I want to make. I actually personally don't care if Candace unblocks me or not. I don't need anything from Candace. I don't want anything from Candace. However, if Candace is going to use me to prop up her narrative, and this is a really minor thing, this is a retweet, but I think that this is indicative of a larger point that I'm going to make. If Candace is going to use me and something I said to advance her story and to show public support for her story, then she can damn well unblock me on Twitter. W. Chitalogo for the super chat. Really do appreciate that. Am I being unreasonable? Am I being unreasonable here to say that if Candace is going to use me to, do we have a retard in the chat? Do we have another retard in the chat? Hang on, I've already banned a bunch of retards in the chat. Do we have someone else? Yeah, no. No. Don't do this. No. Relax. Settle the fuck down right now. My bigger point is this. If Candace will use me and retweet me to her audience to make it look like I support her story, when in fact I think I've been pretty middle of the road. And by the way, for all of Candace's supporters, I've watched every single episode of Bride of Charlie. I've watched it on this channel. You can go back and see the videos. If Candace is going to use me to prop up her story, then she should unblock me on Twitter. And if Candace isn't going to unblock me on Twitter, then I have to say, I've tried to be nice to Candace. I exposed Jeremy Boring before anyone else on the internet. I feel like I've given Candace a really, oh no, you just got blocked, bro. We don't allow retards here. Goodbye, go away. I feel like I have given Candace a really fair shake in terms of I don't attack Candace. I'm not one of these Zionist fucking douchebags that just attacks Candace all day, every day. I don't even really talk about Candace. I have been very nice. I have tried to handle this situation privately multiple occasions. I have watched her content. I've given her a really fair shake. I've tried to call a spade a spade. If I agree with Candace, I'll say I agree with Candace. If I don't agree with Candace, I will say I don't agree with Candace. But I don't make personal attacks. I don't do any of this bullshit that all these people do. Okay, again, retards. Okay, listen, Candace's audience is about the stupidest fucking audience on the internet. Can I just say this? Candace's audience is about the stupidest fucking audience on the fucking internet. Retards. I'm about to explain to you how Twitter works, okay? Is everyone paying attention? I need every one of Candace's fans to watch this instructional video.
You take your top lip and connect it to your bottom lip, you will shut the fuck up. Sometimes shutting the fuck up is the best thing you can do.
I need every single Candace supporter to follow the instructions in that video I just played for you, and I need you to listen to what I'm about to say, because I'm going to teach you how Twitter works. I do not have Candace blocked. Therefore, because I do not have Candace blocked, she can see and interact with all of my content. Candace has me blocked. Now, you'll notice here, I can still see all of Candace's tweets. Oh, there I am. There I am right there. I can still see all of Candace's tweets because I don't have her blocked. And quite frankly, if Candace went to my timeline and just clicked viewed tweets, she could have seen any single thing, which is how she retweeted me, even though she has me blocked. I can see all her stuff. I can interact with all her stuff. Even if I had her blocked, she could still see everything I tweeted. Even with people who someone does have blocked, you can go, for instance, I'll go to the let's do this one. The fat bitch who keeps stalking me. This crazy person I have blocked because she's a fucking stalker. View posts. Oh wow. Oh wow. Oh wow. I can view all her content. So, to all of Candace's fans, that's how Twitter works. Candace has me blocked. I do not have her blocked. Therefore, ergo, she can still interact with all my content. And that is how she retweeted me to prop up her story. And I appreciate the retweet. I do. But let me be very clear here, Candace. Let me be very fucking clear here. I spent a year of my life in 2020 being used as a pawn by the conservative establishment. I was used and propped up as the knitting Democrat who left the left, and they trotted me all over all of these shows, and they made a PragerU video about me, and I was in the conservative machine. And you know what happened? The minute that I wouldn't follow the narrative that they wanted me to follow, they discarded me, defamed me, doxed my college boyfriend, dragged my friends and family through the mud, tried to character assassinate me to prevent anyone from seeing my work ever. So perhaps I'm a bit sensitive to people who are using me to prop up their narrative without any desire to play nicely at all. I'm not asking for the sun, the moon, and the stars here. I'm saying, Candace, if you're going to use me and you're going to use something I posted on the internet to prop up your narrative, then the least you can do is unblock me on Twitter. And if you can't do that, then Candace, I'm just going to assume that this is all just to prop up your narrative. You have no desire to play nicely. It's not about truth. It's not about having intellectual integrity. It is simply about presenting a narrative. And Candace, if that's the case, then how are you different than any of the other retards in the conservative establishment that I turned my back on years ago because of stupid shit like this? If you want to use me and you want to use my words to prop up your narrative and make you seem like you have more credibility and make you seem like you have more support, I'm totally fine with it, except if you're also blocking me on Twitter, which means you have no desire to interact and play nicely. And at that point, I'm like, oh, none of this is fucking real, then is it? None of this is fucking real, then is it? So why should I allow that? So here's my line in the sand. I would like everyone to reply to this post. Actually, I'm going to put this post in the chat, this one right here. Hey, since Real Candace Owens retweeted this, can someone tell her to unblock me? I'm going to put this in the chat. And I would like everyone to reply to this or to retweet this and to tag Candace directly and say, Candace, very nicely, please unblock Karlyn. Can we please just unblock her now? So here's the link. And if Candace unblocks me, then I will play nicely with Candace. If Candace doesn't unblock me because she has no desire to play nicely with anyone and she just wants to use people to advance her narrative, then I'm going to make the assumption that Candace is no different than the conservative establishment that I absolutely fucking loathe. And I may be taking a very different tone with Candace. I maybe won't be so nice to Candace after that. Every time we watch Candace's videos, maybe I'll be a little bit more critical and a little bit less fair in my analysis, simply because it will be colored by the fact that it's all an inauthentic grift, just like the MAGA bullshit is, just like all the PragerU bullshit is, just like everything was. Because right now, I just don't think Candace is an above-board, honest actor, because if she was, then why the fuck hasn't she unblocked me on Twitter? I've tried to play nice. I tried to handle it privately. I have been more than fucking fair. I would actually probably make more money from my audience if I was mean to Candace. I have never attacked Candace. I've never done any of this shit. She doesn't want to play nice, then that's up to her. If she does want to play nice, I think that would be very, very preferable. So that's how I feel about that. Anyway, Amalek is here somewhere. Amalek said that he would come and join us because he wants to talk about this. So let me send the link to Amalek. I wanted to do a little go off about Candace before I brought him on the stream. Hang on. Let me, you guys don't need to see that Twitter. Hang on. Getting the DM up, Amalek. Okay, I just sent you the link to the StreamYard. Who is Amalek? Who isn't Amalek? Really? Who isn't Amalek? Amalek is Amalek is just he's an enigma. He's a man. Amalek, who the fuck are you? The people want to know. Who are you? How would you define yourself?
Well, I was just called the Antichrist about 20 minutes ago by a Christian, so
perfect.
I'm the Antichrist. Hello, it is me, the Antichrist.
I love it. So what is your interest in the stream today?
Well, I'm an early adopter of the Rudyard A-logging. I've been A-logging Rudyard since the very, very earliest days of his channel at like 1,000 subscribers or something, maybe 1,500 subscribers. So I've been watching all of his content for years, like since like I said, since the very beginning. His channel. It was originally because I just like to follow, like I would say, like up and comers, I guess you could say, and like I'll be watching him. I'll be watching his career with interest, kind of thing. And I was always like, oh, I basically, my opinion of him is like he's a very young and naive guy who has like some simplistic views of things, but he's trying and he's actually like producing ideas. And he's actually doing stuff was kind of what my opinion of it. And even though I thought his opinions were basically like cliche rehashes of maybe like 2016 or 2015 ideas, like I was paying attention. And then I guess it was a year ago now. I just looked it up before I jumped on. A year ago now, he basically had what could essentially be described as like a manic break. He put out a 10-hour.
I remember this. I didn't watch it, but I remember this.
He put out like a 10-hour documentary where he basically explains that he has been like in communion with Odin, and that I don't even want to say what's in some of the claims he says, because like it's actually like that fucked up what he was saying. So he posts like a 3-part 10-hour documentary. I don't want to be like cryptic here, but like he basically was like alleging sexual abuse by his family members, forcing him to do it to like other family members. It was totally fucked.
Wow.
And how he talked about how he meditates and he speaks to Odin, and how Odin helped him kill Jesus. And I mean, like I said, this is like a schizophrenic break. That's how I would describe this. I don't have like a psychology degree or anything, but I've read a lot about this type of thing, and I'm pretty familiar with what happened, and that's what I think happened. So it became like a meme because he deleted the video then, and I mean, I every time I see anything Rudyard related, I get so fired up because I've been following him forever. And basically, like a couple months ago, I guess it was over the summer, Elon Musk started like retweeting Rudyard and then being like, "Oh, Rudyard's podcast here is amazing. Oh, very interesting ideas here." I forgot one part. One part of this story that's funny is so part of me observing him has been like trying to influence him and get him to understand things that I talk about in my own little very obnoxious way. And so I've been like spamming him and telling him these things for a very long time. And one of those things was like that people were trying to get him to do is like read about like Jews, I guess you could say. And one of the things he talked about in his like little breakdown is that he like read Culture of Critique, which I don't know if you know what that is.
No.
So it's a book by a PhD named Kevin McDonald, where he basically puts forth a evolutionary biological theory that on Jews, basically, is what I would say. It's very popular in that crowd. You might find it interesting. It's good. It's pretty good stuff. I read it in like 2016 or 2017, I guess. And so basically he said that he had been reading that book. He said like, okay, I'll finally read it to the anti-Semites one day. And he said like, I'll do it. And then like that weekend he tweeted about how he was like doing ayahuasca. So basically like he was reading Culture of Critique, doing ayahuasca, and then like not even a week or two later he has like a mental break. Like this is just textbook, right? Like this isn't even I don't think any of this is surprising. So then
I don't know. I've done ayahuasca a half dozen times and I never had a schizo break. But
well, you weren't reading Culture of Critique. Have you ever done ayahuasca on Culture of Critique?
No, I suppose I haven't. Not yet.
I wouldn't recommend it because I think it's got 100% hit ratio on one-shotting people here. So anyway, so Elon Musk has been promoting him. Kurt Doolittle had him speak at his stuff. I don't know if you know about that guy, Kurt, or anything. That's like a whole other separate lore thing. So there's a series. It's like not a series. It's like a mini documentary. I guess it's an hour long, so it's not mini. It's a documentary. Uber Soy has one on YouTube and on Substack where he kind of covers what I'm talking about as far as like the lol cow Rudyard stuff. But despite all of that, despite all, I mean, he said some crazy shit like how Odin tells him to like eat himself. It's crazy. It's the fucking craziest. That he for 10 hours he schizo posted basically about how
I
he
feel like I want to
talks
watch the whole thing now. I just want to take an evening and watch it all.
there's like I said, the Uber Soy. If you don't know who, anyone who like wants something to watch the Uber Soy documentary on Rudyard or Whatifalthist. That's his alter that's his name for it. And he goes over basically like the history and the lolcowness and all that other stuff. And then you'll be caught up because, from I think the important part here is like this is the ground floor of like A-logging here. Like if you can get in now, he's got like years. I think they're going to be putting him in front of everybody. They're going to be putting him in front of Lindsay here, putting him in front of Elon. I think we're going to have a very like multi-decade long Rudyard A-logging career. I think like when we're older and like old and gray, like Rudyard's going to be like the 40-year-old, 50-year-old, whatever, like going on shows and talking and stuff. That's so.
Why is he getting propped up? Because I've watched his stuff before and I've never been terribly impressed.
I don't know how to say this without like being super insulting. I think a lot of people like following content creators that are like only slightly more intelligent than them. So he's like this perfect spot where for basically like he's like this sweet spot of intelligence where basically like he hits that target market where they're really trying to get like the upper like a slightly above average IQ people to like funnel them back into what I would say is like generally conservative politics, I guess you could say, like the normie conservative politics. Because what he's doing is he's trying to act like as a backstop against extremism is what I would say.
Okay. All right. What are your have you heard about this video that he did about the woke right being real?
No, I had no idea this was a thing until I saw your thumbnail and that it was Rudyard and I flipped. I was like, oh my god, she's Rudyard A-logging. Let's go.
Awesome.
So I had no idea he did any of this, but yeah. So this all checks out that he's being propped up by these same people and he's like having a conversation, even if it's in disagreement, right? Like that's actually part of it is that they don't. A lot of people that misunderstand. They'd be like, "What do you mean? Like, oh, the system supports this or the system supports that?" No. They support the dialectic around ideas, right? So really, it's both sides here. That. So to what degree he might be against the concept of woke, right, or for it. It doesn't really matter. Like the idea is being used, what I would say it's like being used as like a cudgel by Zionists to basically shut anybody up who's anti-Zionist on the right wing. It's basically what I would say is the Zionist version of the old version of cuckservative. For people who've been around for a very long time, that's what it is. It's cuckservative for Zionists. That's what it is.
What do you think of James Lindsay?
I don't know. He has me blocked, so it's like really difficult for me to ever tell what's going on with him. He's just like an idiot. Like there's like I would say there's a whole factory of like 115 to 120 IQ right-wing people who they prop up like this because of that same effect I was explaining with Rudyard, where it's like a certain intelligence of people is like follows that group, and it's like the largest part of the right wing.
I look at James Lindsay's Twitter feed almost every day on another account that I have. He has me blocked too. I can still look at it, but it's just easier to look at it on the account that he doesn't have blocked. He is like, he is tweeting psychotically. Like, I mean, so many tweets a day. It's like, it almost seems like he has a bot set up just like to push shit out on the internet.
Well, the whole thing here is they desperately want to keep like this from going anywhere that they have no control over. So it's like an all hands on deck. Anything that's not against them is for them, if that makes sense. So they're just going to put up with these kinds of people and put them in front because of that concept.
It's infuriating. It's infuriating.
Well,
all right.
Yeah, the whole thing is goofy. I was just going to say like this is just how the right wing operates. It's because people in the right wing do not read. Okay, this is the problem. So anytime you have somebody on the right who reads, and then you have that person that reads go in front of the right wing, it's like they're doing magic tricks. It's like, that person, they're so smart, they can read and recall information that they read, because basically no right wingers read. Okay, so to them it's basically magic. So just the minimum requirement to be like in this sphere is basically like 115 to 120 IQ, and then you read. Oh, and then like don't counter signal Jews too hard. That's basically the minimum requirements. And so you get James Lindsay, you get Rudyard, you get all these people that are basically going to like play ball with that. And like it really is. It's like a magic trick to these people. Like, oh my God, he's read Plato, and it's all of them. All of the right wing are like this because they all get their information. Because they still, like, when I say they don't read, I'm not just saying like they've never read anything. I mean, like today, now in the present, they're still not reading. So they're not getting like information from articles. They're not getting their information from books. They're not getting their information from any of that stuff. What they're doing is they get their news, their daily news, and they get their political ideology from their daily content feed on social media. It's the same as boomers who watch Fox News for like, you know, you can teach like a boomer. I could go through and teach a boomer like the intricate histories of World War II and my version of that and all these other things or anything like that. And I could explain it to them and they could be right there with me and totally understand. And then you put them in front of the TV a day and like day later, they've totally forgot all about it and they don't understand it. It's like that concept of like the TV making it so that boomers were unable to think for themselves. That same concept is happening with social media to like our generation, and we just don't see it because we're swimming in it as like water, you know, like we just don't understand how basically not a single person in the right wing reads. I would say it's probably less than 5% of the right wing on Twitter reads straight up.
I completely agree with you. I'm even becoming convinced that they don't actually even have jobs because, like, as much as they scream about the left not having jobs, I'm being serious though. Like, when I talk about basic things about like, here's how workplaces operate and here's how organizations function and things like that, they truly have no idea how these things actually function. I mean, if they have jobs, they're I mean, I don't mean to sound like, you know, like kind of like a bitch, but they're not white collar jobs. They're not working for like a business environment or a big organization like a university or something like that. Not that there's anything wrong with doing other types of jobs or trade work or like whatever, like people can do whatever they want, but they truly have no idea how that system operates. And yet they're always screaming it like the left doesn't have jobs. The left doesn't have jobs. Well, no, the left has the white collar jobs that you guys wish you had, but you don't have them. And so you just complain about the jobs that they have. It's a bizarre thing.
Yeah, the one of the authentic critiques of the Marxists or the left in general is their understanding of like class dynamics. I don't agree with their conclusions or anything like that, but basically the way that they've deconstructed that I think is authentic. And one of the problems with the right wing is because it's so anti-communist, it refuses to even see the world through that class lens when that is actually one of the most important like core parts of understanding reality. Is understanding that class imbalance, right? Basically what you're describing is like blue collar construction workers who don't read, who are like seething and resentful towards white collar like shit libs who have like desk jobs, right?
Yeah.
Kind of idea, right? So that is a class imbalance issue or class warfare issue.
Well, I want to grab a couple of super chats real quick. We got Murphy's Pool in there. James Lindsay is so talented. Yeah, he's the extremely talented person. Thanks, Murphy's Pool. Hello from a fellow New Englander. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for the super chat. All right. Well, Amalek, should we dig into it?
Yeah.
Let's see.
I hate conservatives so much before we do this. Just so everybody knows, I hate conservatives more than anything. The whole reason that started this whole thing for me was hating conservatives. I'm just so everyone's clear. I hate them.
I think that people on this channel generally hate conservatives as well, even if they are conservative, they also understand why we hate conservatives.
James Lindsay created this concept a year or two ago called the woke right. The idea is roughly that once you get far enough to the right, you start seeing traits loop back to the radical left. This includes collectivism, totalitarianism, a racialized worldview, anti-free markets, or other things. This idea has caught on like wildfire among the digital chattering classes. It's paralleled by the rise of a new right-wing faction totally opposed to the old boomer cons we had grown so used to over the last lifetime. However, almost everyone in this discussion is on one side of the aisle about whether the woke right should or should not exist, rather than if it does. It feels impossible to get a clear-headed, unbiased answer.
The woke right does not exist. The idea of the woke right is fundamentally fucking retarded. The only people who think the woke right is a real thing are people who don't actually talk to people on the far right and don't understand what they believe and don't understand the left and than what they believe. What do you think, Amalek? Does the woke right actually
Oh,
exist?
that's so funny. This is going to be fun. I totally disagree with you. I think the woke right is a thing, and I think it's just there. It's a slur to describe a real thing.
What do you think it's describing?
It's their word for for the dissident right, or basically anti-Zionist right.
But to call it the woke right, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, the reason they're calling it the woke,
hold
on. This is the reason is because they're misunderstanding the left. They don't understand the left in the exact way that you talk about, right? Like they think that whiteness is literally racial, right? Like that whole thing, and right. So from the right wing point of view, the conservative point of view, it is woke to be pro-white. It is woke to be anti-Israel. Hold on, because the woke people are for identity politics. Right, because to them it's not about capitalism; it is about race. When they're looking at the left.
But then why do they complain about everyone being racist against white people?
Hold on. What these right-wing conservatives are doing is they are actually universalists. They're actually outflanking the quote unquote dissident woke right or dissident right. They are actually basically it's a universalist looking at the dissident right and saying you are woke. Just like the left is basically, because from their point of view, we are woke. We're identitarian. We care about race, and we care about, we're against Israel and things like that. You know what I mean? Like, so they're associating those ideas with woke.
Well,
see, I get it.
So I guess maybe we might not disagree as much as you might think, because like I think that I agree with you that they're referring to something. I just don't believe that that comparing it to the left is a real thing. I mean, I think that they made something up to demonize people who don't support Israel and aren't classical liberals, essentially. Like, and James said this very early on an episode of like trigonometry. Oh, those are much better. James said this early on in an episode of trigonometry where he basically said that the woke right are people who are not classical liberals and don't support Israel. So
yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, hold on. So they're right. So they're right in what they're describing. They're just also wrong.
It's Marcuse's repressive tolerance.
Yeah. But they're worried. Look, this is what they're worried about. They are worried of a right-wing Nietzschean type of movement that is secular in nature. The entire right wing is framed around one concept. The right-wing ecosphere is framed around one concept. And the concept just basically is that if we remove the Christianity from the right wing, they become ethno-nationalist giga Nazis. Okay. So the entire apparatus and structure of the right wing conservative movement is to keep that from happening. Every single thing you see and do, like every single thing that motivates them is that core concept right there. Since Buckley and before, since World War II, that's been the entire purpose of Con Inc. So now do you understand, like, hold on, just from that point of view, you understand why he's saying woke right then? To me, it makes sense. I just disagree. Obviously, he's a pussy and like, fuck him and like go fight with a sword, whatever he does.
It's just another way of saying anti-Semite.
Yeah. It's basically, yes. And this horseshoe theory, which I'm sure he's going to go into here, this is not a new concept. This has been an observation that's been made for a long time. And like, the way that they handle it is just, it's you'll see. We'll let him play it.
Do you know that James once posted a meme on his Twitter feed where it basically said that the only way to be normal was to be a classical liberal, and if you were a conservative, then you were abnormal. We have a picture of it somewhere. If someone can find the picture of that meme,
I think I've seen that before. I think maybe you showed that to me before. Maybe I don't know, but
and then he posted an updated version where he put me on the bottom with the woke right. Obviously I'm a Nazi.
Well, they have basically in their ideology, which let's just call it for better term, like what I would call like it's extreme centrism is the way I would describe it, right?
Yes.
Extreme centrism, where the whole premise of it is that we must keep the Overton window inside conservative versus liberal, which are both in like the universalist section of the ideologies, and it must stay within right then and there. And we can't let the left veer out into identitarian politics, right? Because that's not universalist. And we can't let the right veer into identitarian politics because that's not universalist. That's like the premise they're operating under, if that makes sense. So they don't want anything to get out of there.
Reagan found the meme.
It is funny.
Hang on. Oh, we even did a flow chart. Holy shit, you're gonna love this. We even made a chart explaining to James how but there it is. So normal is liberal, abnormal or insane is socialism and conservatism, and then he's got cluster B down here, and then he put a picture of me there at the end on a different version of it. So, all right.
Above all the smog. I feel compelled to make this video since firstly, I truly do not care whether the woke right is real, and secondly, I'm enough of an insider on the digital.
I think this is actually a really good one from Master Shake. James basically said, "I'm gonna call you left before you realize that I am really left and expose me." Yep.
Well, one thing that's important here, maybe you're familiar with this, because I have a family member who has like a similar background to you as far as like psychology and things like that, and they recommended this book to me a long time ago, the Origins of Totalitarianism, which was like a very okay, so you've read it because it's part of like that curriculum, and then it's also what I would say is like that understanding what that book is about. That is the downstream foundation here. Okay, so essentially, what's argued that in that book is that right-wing anti-Semitism and left-wing anti-Semitism are essentially like the same operating idea. Essentially, is I guess a good way to describe it. And what I would say is that the horseshoe theory is just derived from that book. Not exactly, but that's where the people who did the horseshoe theory and came up with this concept, they're just referencing back to the Origins of Totalitarianism, which is like a very influential psychological book, a book in psychology, I would say.
So is this just, again, is it all just another way then to just call people anti-Semitic if they don't support Israel? Is that what the like punchline?
Yeah, well, yeah, pretty much, because you got to think for like basically for 1500 plus years, it was just like you're anti-Christian is kind of what it used to be like, or you're like anti-Christ, or you're anti your religion. And that went on for a while. Then there's all these like religious wars and things like that. And basically like the reason people in Europe specifically became so secularized was because of that playing out for generations and generations, and everyone basically became sick of it. And then they basically like not expelled, but you know, I mean, Europe basically emptied all of the superstitious retards into America over the 17 and 1800s, right? Like basically every superstitious retard movement in Europe got dumped into America. So Europe became extremely secular, okay? So essentially what they had to do was come up with a new way of keeping that same dialectic going within universal ideas, right? If I'm making some sense?
Yeah. Without
Christ. And that's where we get the totalitarianism concept in psychology, I would say, you know, from the Origins of Totalitarianism, like that whole concept. And then that eventually becomes the horseshoe theory. So what this is it's just like another psychological concept meant to do the same thing that you're describing, like, oh, call someone anti-Semite. So it's essentially the same kind of idea. But before they would have called you anti-God. You know, back in the Middle Ages, they would have said you're anti-G. They accused people of being anti-God back then in the 1100s or something like that. And today, that version is anti-Semite.
Fair enough.
Right, where I know enough of the players involved in this saga, either personally or are one step removed from them. This video will be my investigation of if the woke right is real, and in the process to find the soul of the new right. What will the world after the woke even look like? Will it just be another form of woke, or can we actually be free?
Only retards think we're ever going to have a world without the woke. That's fucking stupid.
Well, the whole premise here is crazy. It's the premise here is that freedom is the highest virtue. Do you see? This is like this is very important to see what they're doing. So they're framing the whole thing as like that freedom is the highest virtue, and that the spiritual soul of the right is basically within a civil war, and that the winner will basically like lose out on freedom. You know what I'm saying? So the whole framing is basically like, I mean, they're gonna lose if they keep doing this. By the way, this isn't actually gonna work. I don't think.
No, they're gonna lose. They're gonna lose regardless. The demographics are not in their favor. Like the people they're calling the woke right are like the youngest conservatives. It's not the only people who aren't the woke right for them are older people that are dying off.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. It's I don't know. They're in a weird spot because of the nature of Christianity. Basically, what's happening is these younger people. I don't think that there's like a religious revival or anything going on, but people are taking up this like what I would call like trad conservative mindset, and it's like getting them looped back into this right here is what I would say.
Yo, W just to call it dropout. Thank you, appreciate it.
Hold on, sorry, I gotta.
We live in uncertain times,
Sorry,
and the managerial.
you just had a chatter who said something, and I gotta say a couple things. First of all, his name's Ted Kaczynski. Huge fan of the name. Definitely read Skrbina's work on Ted Kaczynski. If you've not read David Skrbina's work on Ted Kaczynski, you're fucking up. That's the first thing I'd say. The second thing is John Chrysostom is not talking about Jewish people as a whole or as an ethnic group. He is against what are called Judaizers in the church, which are essentially Christians who were still going and practicing the Sabbath and still going to the synagogue and still going and praying with the Jews and doing all these things. And they basically, what he's trying to do is he's trying to stop what are called like these Judaizers. And the reason that he's so against the Judaizers is because the Judaizers themselves are against the Trinitarian doctrine that they're trying to basically make the official Christian religion that you believe in. So what they're trying to do is defend against what you would call like Unitarian Christianity, proto-Unitarian Christianity. And essentially it's ethnic Jews, okay, and Christians who are worshiping the Jewish God still, but they're doing it with like a blend. Basically what originally you could be a Jewish person and a Christian. In fact, to be a Christian meant you were also Jewish. And it wasn't until Paul that he iterates on that.
Wait. What?
Yeah. In order to be a Christian at the beginning, you had to be Jewish. Yes.
That doesn't even make sense.
No, it does. It makes perfect sense. You know what Chabad is, right? You've seen the Chabad stuff.
Yeah.
Christianity was like a version of Chabad. It was like a sect within Judaism. Basically, they believed in that the Messiah did come and he defeated Satan in the sky and he was resurrected. Like this whole, I would call it Philo's Hellenistic Judaism. But anyway, just real quick with what he's saying about John Chrysostom. The important thing here is that his writings are not against the Jewish people as an ethnic group. And they're not anti-Semitic in the way that you think. They're literally it's a polemic piece against Judaizers because they're against the Trinity. Okay? That's what it's about.
Okay.
Sorry. I get this all the time from these guys. They're like, oh, Christianity is like totally based against Jews. Christians hate Jews. And like, I would never deny that there's like anti-Semitic, you could call it like polemics in the Bible, but it's all intra-Judaism. It's all as sex within Judaism. It's not outside of it. Okay. It's like, okay, hold on real quick. Sorry.
Go ahead.
If Ben Shapiro calls Soros demonic, that doesn't make Soros good and Ben Shapiro bad, or the other way around, right? That's what we're looking at. We're looking at two different groups. We're basically looking at what I would call what became rabbinic Judaism, so Pharisaical Judaism, which is like the Jewish elite class, okay? And it's a polemic of them versus what I would call the Hellenized Jewish elite class. So it's basically what we're witnessing in the early Christian church when there's all these anti-Jewish writings is it basically like a literary war. It's competitive. It's a competitive literary genre. So that's what's going on. But anyway, sorry.
All right.
He hit my pet peeve. Sorry.
I know you get very autistic about all this stuff. I understand. Have a go off. It's all right.
Dependent on are starting to wear down. New ways of doing things will be needed, and we should be ready to look for a new future. Now with Zcash, you can just do that.
No,
Zcash is going to treat
no ads.
Okay, hold on, real quick. I bet you if I look this up, I bet you that has connections to Russia. I'm just gonna say it. I'm not. I bet you it does.
Why?
I bet you.
Why?
Well, I mean, because all this whole right-wing
Is he a
sphere is
Russian bot?
polluted with Russian ops. Okay,
Yeah.
everyone, if you are right now someone who is
See,
hearing what
you
I'm
agree
saying,
with Lindsay on the Duganist stuff.
yeah, I do. Well, I don't just agree. Like I used to be a Duganist, is what I would say. So I understand it intently. You know what I mean? I really do, and I do think it's an evil ideology because I understand it really well. It would basically be like if so you know how I have all this understanding of the end time stuff.
Yep.
Okay, imagine if my point of view was that we need to make this happen as soon as possible, right now, immediately.
Well, isn't
But,
that
well,
what
hold
the
on.
Jews want?
Well, I know, like basically, like I wanted. You know how I know all the different like stories and narratives and how they interact with each other. He's sitting there and he's like poking those fires and he's trying to make them like he's trying to get the Shia to do like terrorist attacks in America based on the Mahdi. He's trying to get Jews to like actually like blow up Alaska Mosque and like get this going. He basically what he's trying to do is start an apocalyptic chaotic war because he thinks that Russia will emerge as in a better situation than the rest of the countries. That basically all the other countries will be so bothered with everything else that they won't actually be able to touch Russia, and Russia will be able to emerge out of that in a better situation.
Do you think that
he's trying to like light the fire?
Do you think that James is correct that like that the so-called woke right or the anti-Semites or whatever are taking the bait from Dugan?
Well, this is the thing. I think he's totally right that basically there's a huge amount of the right wing who are totally just falling for Duganist propaganda is what I would call it, which is basically what like I said, it's like chaos engineering. It's pro-chaos. It's not a specific ideology or anything like that. So there's that Zhang guy that I'm sure you've seen, right?
Oh yeah, I've seen that. Like that guy. Why do people even listen to that guy? I don't get it.
Well, because what he's doing is he's taking like 90% absolutely true things and he's describing it to low IQ people with like a whiteboard and an Asian accent. Like the same things that like me or maybe Adam would talk about, and then he's mixing in like this extra 10% that's absolutely bullshit. And then he's like calling Nick a fed and things, and like, look, I have my issue like differences.
Yeah, I saw that.
But like that is not. I disagree. I think that that's fucked up, and fuck you. Like I don't ever call Nick a fed or anything like that because I think it's ridiculous. So, you know, it's not just Zhang though. I would say the entire right wing. Basically, this is what happens if the Russian operation, I guess you could say, or the Russian ideological sphere, we'll just call it, because I want to be really broad. I don't think it's just like the intelligence services of Russia doing this, but like, you know, other people. If they see that there's somebody like a new influencer coming up that doesn't like counter signal Russia, that's the only minimum requirement. And then they promote that person and they bring them into the fold in their sphere is what I would say.
I hate these fucking people so much.
But you see what I'm talking about, right? You know,
much. Yes, I know exactly. What
anyone here? There's a good example. The woman who's done the research on this has to be blocked. I can't remember her name right now. But the wellness center sponsorships. If you've ever seen the wellness group,
no.
It's a lot of the right wingers, I would say, a lot of right wingers have sponsorships from them and Goldco and a couple other places that have like ties to Russia.
The gold people. Yep.
Yeah, so a lot of the gold companies have ties to Russia. So I would say like basically the idea is as long as you're like controllable and that you don't talk shit on Russia, they're gonna promote those people. And the dumber and more chaotic causing they are, the better, right? So I mean this Zhang guy is a perfect example, right? He literally came out of nowhere. He's got a massive YouTube following. He's been following and promoting Dugan, like, oh, I love Dugan for a while. And he's literally like promoting. I mean, like all I can explain about Zhang is he's like quite literally like he might as well be reading from Dugan's books on his presentations. Like that's basically what he's doing, is what I would say. He's like Duganism in practice. So, but that's like the whole right wing, which is why he's popping off so hard.
Everything is fake and gay. That's it.
Yeah. Part 1, the right-wing backlash. A few years ago, around when I was moving to Texas, I made a video called The Coming Right-Wing Backlash about how I thought that the right was on the verge of a huge explosion of far-right sentiment that would completely unbalance the political Overton window of society. This was one of my better predictions where that's very clearly happened, and you can just go on X to see an easy example. As of now, there's been a total normalization of topics that a few years ago were completely taboo to ever even broach indirectly. You have enormous figures on the right with huge platforms talking about fairly overt anti-Semitism, which has been totally normalized in discourse.
Totally
Discussions about differences in biological race and sex used to be totally taboo, but now have been completely normalized in the right-wing collective discourse. The blank slate is already totally dead, and it's hard to remember a world where it was taboo to say that trans women aren't real women, or that a Guatemalan can't be expected to immediately become an Iowa-born American. Something to keep in mind is that this radical shift in worldview has occurred predominantly since COVID, which in itself is something of genuinely historic scale. This is something that will be written about in history books thousands of years from now, since it signals a profound shift in the worldview of the world's dominant civilization.
Can I just say, this guy's voice and Weird Valley girl drawl makes me want to throw a pie at his face.
Dude, I can't even hear myself talk because I talk like that. So trust me, I'm right there with you.
I like your voice.
I hate it. So I'm
That's
right
the
there.
basis of your appeal.
I didn't like do any. Dude, I'm right there with you. That's all I gotta say. True, so true. The Valley Girl voice has to go.
Not you, the other one.
Oh, I think. Oh, my voice is like that too.
No, your voice is way better than his.
Or the West. And you can't put these ideas back in the bottle once we know that they're true. It's insane to see how so many leftists have started operating inside these right-wing frames, since they see it's the only way to keep up in the constant attention battle that is internet
He
politics.
does talk like me.
Gavin
I can't believe I've never noticed
Newsom's
this before.
sort of fake.
He has like the same. That's super weird.
No, your voice is way better than his. Stop.
That's so funny.
Plays to the right are an example of this. The left's worldview itself is on the defense, and the question is whether or not the left can evolve from here. There's a few different threads I need to tug at here to give this topic justice. The first being that there's grown a huge, almost continental barrier between the boomer cons and the zoomer cons. For those that don't know, the boomers are those born between roughly World War II and JFK's death. They've dominated the global system for decades and are growing older and highly decadent in their old age. Meanwhile, Gen Z are basically those who are in their 20s now, and I'm Gen Z or I'm 24. It's so funny that when I talk to older conservatives, they tend to put me into the hard right box, in that I'm more right-wing than almost all older conservatives. At the same time, in right-wing youth circles, I am consistently seen as a very moderate person. It speaks to an enormous generational gulf. Older conservatives tend to still believe in the blank slate through their actions, in that they still treat men and
When
women
he says blank
largely
slate,
as
I really want people to understand, like, I see these ideas are broader than that. Blank slate is universalism applied to sociology and, behavioral psychology, if that makes sense.
What does that mean? Can you break that down a little more?
So when he says blank slate, he's literally referring to the concept that people, like humans themselves, that you can, the left wing's idea is that you can just, anybody, anywhere, it's how they're raised. You see this all the time. The idea that gender is fluid is a good example of this. And, those types of ideas, you know what I mean? Like that, your biology has little to do with your outcomes or whatever, I guess is the best way to explain the blank slate theory. So what he's doing is he's attacking he's talking about universalism here. And when he says, like, he's talking about it in like this, if you don't think the blank slate theory is real, then you're far right. So he's referring to the universalist idea. Like, he understands it the same way, right? So it's just important to understand. Like I said, I think it's important to understand that the crux of the problem here is that he is trying to prevent the right wing from being anti-universalist in a broader sense, not just on biology or anything like that. It's very important to them that they keep it in this paradigm.
Same, or don't get how cultures outside the West are vastly lower trust. They don't even understand
one more
half
thing.
of
Sorry.
how evil and suicide.
Go ahead.
The thing about it is like the whole polemic on like nature versus nurture, because that's really what he's talking about, right? This whole like polemic itself is false. Okay, the nurture side of things can basically be broadly understood as culture, right? That's really what people are talking about when they say nature versus nurture. They're saying that the culture you grow up in determines your behavior more so than the biology you have. And the problem with that is that the culture you have is literally just the collective behavior of biology. The culture itself is a function of the biology. And I just want to give an example of this. What is the culture of beavers? Well, beavers get together and they build dams. So
Mhm.
you can put a beaver basically anywhere in the world. You could put a beaver in a river and they'll build a dam. You could put them in a desert and they'll build a dam. You could put them up in ice and they'll build a dam. You could put them anywhere in the world and beavers will build a dam. Beaver culture is building dams. And humans work the exact same way. Just like a dog breed can be associated to certain set of behaviors and ways they act, so can humans. So what is human culture? And what is that? Well, it's the individual cultures that we're aware of. It's English culture, it's German culture, it's African culture, it's Asian culture. These cultures are the collective biological output of the species, of the subspecies, of the subgroups. Okay. So there is no nature versus nurture. This whole concept is retarded. You're literally brought up in the nature, the byproduct of the collective nature of the people around you that you're raised by. Does that make sense what I'm saying? This whole premise of nature versus nurture itself is retarded.
I disagree on this. I think it's a combination of the two, right? I think that I agree with you that people will inherit the traits of the culture that they're brought up in. But even within like we are not fucking beavers, okay? We are a little bit more complex than beavers. And so some people will have very different environments than other people, even if they live in the same town. And so nurture is going to come into it. So like if you have people that like I grew up in a town where like there was like the fucking trailer park kids, there were the middle class kids, and there were the fucking rich kids. They were all within the same culture. We all went to the same like school together, but we all had very, very, very different experiences growing up, and certainly those experiences help shape who you are.
Yeah. But basically what I'm saying is like those experiences of what shaped you were in itself, those decisions and those behaviors were themselves the collective behavior of the people you grew up with.
But that's not innate. That's not innate. That's not innate. That's not innate. That's nurture.
Right. I'm saying that all I'm trying to say is that the nurture itself, the nurture function is driven also by biology. So to what degree it's an argument over what's biological and what's like, changeable through social through social constructs and remaking society, it's like 80% of this is based on nature. If half of the nurture part is also nature, right? You understand what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying. I just don't agree with the framing of it. I think that if something isn't innate to who you are, then it's going to be nurture. Like it's either intrinsic or extrinsic. So
right,
are you
hold on, here.
behaving
Maybe I'll give you a good example.
You talked to me. Let me finish you talked enough. Okay, let me finish my sentence. Come on. Like either if you are not, if something is not an innate part of your being, it's been there since you were born. It will always be there because it is innate. It is internal. Then it comes from external influence. Innate is nature. External is nurture. Your nature creates your nurture. Okay, Master Shake. Maybe that's the compromise.
Yeah, that's basically what I'm saying. So like I would never deny that if you grew up in like if you grew up in Africa, right? Like I'm not denying that you would be like basically like an African person as far as like the way you talk, the way you move culturally and all these other things. Like I'm not denying that. But what I'm saying is like what created that African culture itself is not just like a random occurrence, like a happy little accident. It's basically like the compounding biological reactions, the collective biological behavior of your people is what's determining that very culture itself. So no matter where you grow up in, it's a byproduct of biology. Yeah, basically what I'm saying.
But a person's experience in a tribe actually in Africa is going to be fundamentally different than a person who is born to African immigrants in the United States who now make a fuck ton of money and live in the rich part of town. Like those are two very, very different experiences.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm just saying that they're both functions of biology.
How are they both functions of biology if one of those Africans lives in a fucking tribe where they don't even know how to open a fucking can of soda and they start biting it off with their teeth, and the other one lives in a very well-to-do community and sticks their pinky finger out when they drink tea?
Well, this
Like,
is
how is that innate?
This is the basic problem, right? Is that basically what's going on is that when you transplant like an African person and have them grow up in the West, right, where like, you know, just 100 and 200 years ago, they didn't have the wheel in that guy's village. And now you're having him like grow up in like LA because his parents are like rich rappers or something like that. Those people that are growing up there, they're like basically like living off of like the collective culture, right, of a people that are not biologically related to them. So I obviously understand that concept, right? Like,
so it's nurture.
Hold on. Listen, but what I'm saying is that if you remove the biological basis, right, for like, let's just say there's no more white people, for example, that Black African that might be here, they're going to go back to the old biological setting. Oh, does that make sense? Not like within that lifetime
but I think you're making my but I think you're making my argument. I agree with the argument that nature that nature is very influential in the way we behave. But I think the difference is I'm saying that there are external factors that also nurture us to behave in certain ways. And if those external factors are removed, then people probably would revert to something more close to what their innate nature is. I think like you're actually making my argument for me.
Yeah, I don't actually think I'm just thinking through like what you're saying and what I'm saying. I don't think we actually disagree that much here. I don't know, because
that's a shame.
I don't know. I just don't think we disagree here. I think you're trying to make it a disagreement, but I don't think we actually disagree.
I think you were the one that said we disagreed in the first place.
Well, no, you did.
Okay.
Societal the left is. They're quite foreign policy hawkish, seeing the American empire as an innate good, generally being pro-Zionist, and the Zoomer cons are isolationist. There's this hilarious meme that shows a 110-year-old senator who's craving to destroy Iran before he dies, and his great-grandson who wants mass remigrations. Those are pretty accurate comprehensions, in my opinion, to look at the core failings of both groups. For the boomer cons, they are nearly universally loathed outside their age group for their complete and utter complacence. They are frequently called controlled opposition for the left, where even if they are given a complete deck of cards, they will not roll back the leftist order. They won't actually stop immigration, the woke takeover, the demographic issues, or any of those things.
And like, see how he connected to religion too? Like this is important. He understands. This is why I think he's interesting. I say I'm A-logging Rudyard, and that's kind of true, but also like, you know, I like a lot. I don't have this idea that because I disagree or dislike somebody that therefore I'm just gonna like sit around and hate them. I'm just gonna try to convince them that I'm right.
That's kind of how I feel about Candace Owens, except if she doesn't fucking unblock me on Twitter, I will start hating her like irrationally.
So yeah, with him, I think I can convince him. He has some not terrible ideas. He's like 26 or 27, I guess now. So I don't think it's actually
go do psychedelics with him and bond over that experience.
I don't think I need to do that.
Has dominated the West for the entire lives of most baby boomers, and they're too scared to fight the left since it would destroy their entire comfortable reality. I'm going to use my channel as an example for this demographic shift that's occurred among predominantly young right-wing men since COVID. My channel got big a little bit after COVID, and for the first few years...
I've been there, I just can't remember the name of it. Sorry, that observatory? I can't remember the name of it.
That's in Los Angeles.
Yeah, but what's it called? I forget
what it's called. I think it's just called like the observatory, isn't it?
Well, it's fucking cool.
It is fucking cool.
COVID. My channel got big a little bit after COVID, and for the first few years, the top criticisms of me was that I was a right-wing nut job, an apologist for imperialism, or a racist. After that, it morphed into calling me an autistic incel loser, which is the most...
Is that actually him?
Wait, you've never even seen what he looks like?
No, I've
okay,
never
after
seen
we're
what he
done with
looks
this, we'll do some. I'll try to find some good A-logging material so you can get caught up.
Oh God.
Insane criticism of me you could make if you know anything about my life. Now people call me a Jew lover, a white traitor, a Shabbos goy, and I get significantly more criticism from the right than the left as of now. There's a sort of ritual where a bunch of big hard right Twitter accounts have periodically taken turns.
Go ahead.
Yeah, he's literally talking about me, I would say here. Like, I'm not trying to... I didn't know that I was
about Nick and the Groypers.
I mean, that's part of it. Everyone does this to him. You know, this is what I would say to him. Like, dude, being bullied into the far right is part of the rite of passage. So you just got to kind of put up with it. And we've moved you to the positions that you hold now. So just stop fighting it. Just let it happen. Just let it go. Is what I would say to him, because he's
It
like
is kind of
fighting
an
every
annoying
step.
fucking hazing ritual, though. I will say that, having been through the hazing ritual, and I think I got the fucking hazing ritual worse because I'm a woman.
Well, you get it. I was gonna say, yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. You get it doubly because you're a woman, and it never stops either. By the way.
Yeah, no, it never fucking stops. But like, listen, if I can survive it and get through it, then he can shut the fuck up and like take it. I mean, honestly, that's how I feel about it.
Damn, I can't believe he's doing this video. This is great. I like this.
On me, and that's happened like 5 times. For a frame of reference, I have a worldview much like what the founding fathers did, an educated person before World War I, or a fusion of Aristotle, Plato, and the Bible. My worldview would best fit into 16th century Renaissance Europe, since one of my passions is medieval philosophy, which is really rubbed off on my entire perception of the world. I am vastly more conservative than these guys, who are trying to harken back to Nazi Germany.
Okay, pause. Okay, listen.
What?
Listen, Rudyard, I understand why you have that position. I'm talking like he's like here in the room now. Listen, I understand why he has that position, because I have also read the same philosophers and understand. But the tradition that is like trying to be revived is not 1930s Germany Nazism. We are trying. There's groups of there's people that are trying to revive the Bauer intellectualism style stuff, dude, and like the old secular right wing. So the idea that we're like, dude, I get why he thinks this though, because what he sees from his perspective is basically a bunch of people being like, oh, you don't love Hitler? Well, then you're a fag. Like that's literally basically what's all day.
Well, but that's why I don't take him seriously as any sort of analyst. And I thought this with the same when I watched his content before. It's like, bro, if you can't detach from something and put your personal feelings aside, then you are not an analyst at all in any way. You're just whining and complaining on the internet because people said mean things in your replies. Like, so the fuck what? The Groypers have said mean things to me the entire time I've been like in their proximity.
Wait, hold on. I have a question for you. I don't know all of your background. I know some of it. So when did you like become like a public person associated with like public your ideas and your public person?
In general, like
like how old were you when you did that?
Oh, I mean that was in 2020.
Okay, so I don't know what you were like when you were 22, but that's how old Rudyard was when he started doing that.
Well, and I've said this too. Like, thank God I was not on the internet like this in my 20s. Like, thank the good Lord, because it would have been a complete and total fucking disaster. And so I can certainly like make it like leniency for people who are young and inexperienced, because I totally get that and I agree. But at the same time, I mean, listen, when I got shoved into this space, I wasn't looking to be famous on the internet. It just happened. I had that article go viral where I was like, I'm a knitting Democrat, the left, or like whatever the fuck I wrote, and it just like it was a total surprise to me. I was never trying to be famous in politics. This was not something I ever wanted to do. And so I was incredibly naive when I got into this space, because it was completely different than I was in life coaching, corporate coaching, like all that stuff, like, spiritual development. I was doing something extremely different than now. And so even though I did start this much older, and thank God I did, I still had a certain level of naivete. And I think that it took a couple of years to wear through that, because I didn't fully figure out how completely fucked the conservative establishment was until basically like October 7th. I mean, I started figuring it out before that. I knew it was fucked. I knew they stabbed me in the back, but like I didn't know exactly how bad it was until like October 7th. And then I like, red pilled on all the JQ stuff and stuff like that. And I started seeing things differently. But the thing is, like, he's been in this space a long time. He was trying to be in this space. He has been navigating this space. And so, like, while I can make certain allowances when people are young and stupid because you're young and stupid, it's also like at some point, bro, you got to start learning and you got to start adapting.
It's actually not that he's young and stupid. I do think that that's part of it for sure. Like for me, I'm young and stupid even at my age. I don't know if I should even have
old age.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm not saying that he's like young and stupid. What I'm saying is that essentially what happens is you take like a position when you're 22 publicly, and then you just spend the rest of the time, like years, defending that position, people attacking you for that position. And what it does is it like cements and hardens that position in a way that's like unnatural to a young person. So what's happening in my view is like he's like navigating that that idea constantly. So like us like breaking it up, I would say, like breaking up his ideas by like spamming Hitler and things like that at him. Like that is like part of breaking it down, his ideas is that bullying, basically, is what I would say. But yeah, it's funny that he's complaining about this and seething. It's so funny to me.
At the very beginning of the video too, it's like they were mean to me. Like, okay, bro.
It's true. He's right. We are mean to him.
But
he thinks that this is, he's like, I'm more right wing because I'm closer to those thinkers. It's just funny. Like, I don't know.
Well, this is sure to go well for him. He's definitely not going to experience any bullying from this.
I bet you I agree with his overall point in this video, whatever it might be.
We'll see.
We were being based for centuries before your parents even considered conceiving you. You want to return to Nazi Germany. I'm trying to become the Duke of Saxony. These are not the same. I was talking to a friend of mine who runs a right-wing youth organization with hundreds of members, and he said, Rudyard, we really appreciate that you've been consistently anti-Nazi this entire time.
What?
You've never buckled under it. To which my reply was, damn, things are really that bad? It used to be common.
Bro. Why is this so cringe at the very beginning? Like, you're totally anti-Nazi, bro. Thanks, bro. You need to bully him more, Amalek. You need to. I can't do this. I'm a girl.
Well, the problem is that it goes in stages. It goes in like, I hate Hitler. He was the worst guy. He's like basically the Satan of our time, and like that's like the current framing of every normie, and that's like the default setting of the right wing and left wing and basically every person. And the point of the whole like what I would call Hitler, I don't know, obsession of the right is not that we're like emulating his policies, okay? It's breaking up that concept and breaking up those ideas so that they can no longer be out of bounds, okay? Because what happens is anytime you do any sort of identity-based concept at all, even slightly, they call you Hitler, okay? So there's just basically like the mystical like mythalization around Hitler essentially has to be like deconstructed in itself so that we can do identity, like the type of politics that are required, which is like identity politics.
Sense that the Nazis were morally wrong. What happened to good sense and taste? To start this question about the woke right, there is one great point which I think will simplify this whole discussion. Remember that when an equation looks either too complex or too simple to be engaging or comprehensible, that you're looking at it wrong. You need to either zoom out or change the details you're looking at. The world is always engaging. You just need to know where or how to look. The core themes I will give here is that almost no one on the youth right actually has serious political views. For the Zoomer cons where this radicalization is concentrated, although it has still very much spread to older people.
Oh, do you disagree with that though?
Sort of spiritually connected.
Yes, I very much disagree with that. I think the Groypers have very, very specific political views, and I think that they actually do believe them, and I think that many of them are like out there talking about them all the time very seriously.
If Nick came out tomorrow and he said that he wasn't, I don't know, what's a position that would be a major change that's not Christianity? Because I don't want to, that's like a whole different thing. But what's like a position that he could change right now? I don't even know. What if he came out like, I don't know, in favor of the Iran war, for example? Do you think that the Groypers would follow him?
Yes.
Okay, that's because it's for the Groypers, it's not about the ideology, it's about whatever Nick says. And I don't
but Nick would have a rationale for that.
Yeah. Like, so the ideology is Nick. The ideology is Nick is basically all I'm saying. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but that's not to say that they don't. Like, I think if Nick didn't provide any sort of rationale to say this is why I changed my mind, like you're basically saying that Nick can't change his mind. Nick can change his mind. Nick is you are though, because like you're holding Nick to a different standard than you're holding this guy. Like Nick is also a young guy who's developed his political opinions on the internet, and he needs to be allowed to grow and evolve as well. And I think that if Nick came out and said, "I changed my mind for a reason X, Y, B, and Z," there would be a very good reason for it. And I think that the Groypers would follow him because they would appreciate him like offering this vision.
No, I'm not criticizing Nick. I think what he's doing is like a masterclass on what he's doing, which is basically like making it so that the ideology is actually not so rigid, which makes it almost like not useful. And what he's doing right now is basically like by centering it around like basically his consciousness rather than an ideology. Like if you ask Nick, like, what's his ideology? It's not that he has like an ideology. It is whatever he's like reasoned out, right? That's all I'm saying. And I think that that's like that's just how the right basically operates. On all, they're not ideologically based. Like he's right. Almost all people in the right
I
wing,
don't agree with you.
they associate ideas with people rather than the ideas themselves. Is really what he's trying to say. It's like maybe a better way to understand it.
But I mean, they have people that are their mouthpieces for those ideas because a lot of them feel like they can't speak their ideas.
Oh, that's true. They can't articulate anything. A lot of what it is.
No.
It's
not that they can't personally articulate it. It's that they can't do it as a public person on the internet. So they have other people speak their ideas, and they support the people who are speaking their ideas.
I don't know. I think that that's kind of like a romantic version of politics. I think what a lot of it is that people have like ideas that they haven't really thought out, but are like under the surface. And then like an influencer says those ideas in a way that they're like, oh, that resonates with me. I've had that idea. So like basically what's happening psychologically is like the influencer has convinced them that like, oh, look, this idea that you already had, it's just like mine. And like, then you become part of that person's, right? So then you basically like mirror yourself in that person, and not everyone's following like a person rather than an ideology. That's all I'm saying. I agree with what you're saying about all like the mechanics or whatever of like, yeah, if Nick changes his mind, that's a good thing. Like as somebody who's like, I think, watch Nick become like a better commentator over time, I definitely think that's a good thing. I would be mad if he didn't do that.
It honestly really drives me crazy that the internet punishes people for changing their mind and growing and evolving. It's like someone who like my entire like origin story is changing my mind and leaving the left, and then people get surprised when I continue to grow and evolve and explore their issues, and then they hold it against you forever. They're like, you are a Democrat. Like no shit, bro. Like no, like do you never want people to grow and evolve and leave the left? You're just gonna hold it against them for the rest of their fucking lives? It's like you probably voted for John fucking McCain. Like literally go fuck yourself.
Well, it's because it's like, well, it's the way you're describing it is like this because it's about people rather than ideas in the right wing. That's kind of that's why it's like that. The reason that people are like that, where they're like, oh, you can't change your mind because blah, 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 is because when people flip-flop on ideas, right? Like then it just, I used to follow so-and-so, but then he went, like, you know what I'm talking about. It becomes like a whole thing.
Then she went crazy.
Yeah, dude, trust. Yeah. So none of them are into ideas, and that's what makes Nick different, I think, is Nick is into ideas, and he's like, so like I said, I'm not attacking Nick on that. I actually think that it's one of Nick's best qualities. I think Nick is always better as a Bill O'Reilly rather than like a political actor, if that makes sense.
The Zoomer cons in their digital algorithms and hearts is that this is all a very chaotic or slapdash process. In a healthy society, you have sort of cultural narrators like the media, fiction, historians, religious figures, or artists who supply the conscious internal monologue and vocabulary so that the people in that society can understand and live in their environment. What's happened since COVID, and I cannot overstate how rapid this shift has been a total loss of faith in this narrating class. This 100%. Means that almost no one actually understands what's happening to them in their daily lives, since politics does very much manifest in people's actual lived experience. This is especially true for young
half
people
the country is
who are more dependent on the society.
Hang on, what was that?
I think 50% of the country at least has like some sort of mental.
Oh, I 100% agree. Yeah.
I think that COVID basically cooked. Like I think COVID did damage to us as like psychologically as like a country more than will ever be understood. Like it makes me look back at things like the Spanish flu and be like, wow, like I thought I understood the Spanish flu. I did like a whole report on it when I was in high school, and I really understood like, how it happened and all the history. But until I lived through COVID, then I realized like, oh, I have no clue what it was like back then, and I have no way of even imagining it because of the way history is told. Essentially, like imagine it must have been crazy to how dumb people became back then even.
You know, one of the things that like stands out to me in terms of like, I didn't realize how insane people were until I was like public on the internet. And one of the things that just like drives me crazy is people will be in like my chat or my replies or my comments or whatever, and they're having entire conversations with themselves. They're literally just it's kind of like the equivalent of like an old man like walking up and down the sidewalk in New York City, like holding a Bible and just like ranting and raving to himself. That's literally my comments like all the time. Not with everyone, but just like with enough people that it's really pronounced. And I'm like, holy shit, there are way more of these people than I ever thought there were.
Last night, Adam did a show last night, and he had some guy pay like $250 or $350, something like that, to come on and tell him about his like personal theory on how like basically
Wait, Adam made a guy pay him $200.
He didn't make him. The guy was like begging to come on and talk to him, and the guy's been in my replies for weeks, and I just don't block him or anything. He was in a space with me a couple of weeks ago. People might have caught that. He's like he's a schizophrenic. Like that's the only thing I can like. I'm not trying to be rude or anything like that, but I understand like how like what schizophrenia looks like.
Is he a friend of the guy whose name I won't mention?
No, he's not a friend of his. He just
I heard I think I saw Adam say on Twitter that
he was joking. He was calling him his friend. Yeah.
Okay. Well, because that would make a lot of sense to me.
Well, but the guy believes so basically what's going on is men, specifically white men, for whatever reason are more prone to this, between the ages of like I think it's like 16 and like 30, are like highly prone to what I would call is like schizophrenic psychotic breaks. Okay, there's a lot of reasons probably for this. This is probably why a lot of us are addicted to drugs as well. It's trying to like fix this problem, I would say. And what happens is, especially with this guy, is they are isolated alone and they get into what I would call like the internet conspiracy rabbit hole delusion place. And this guy was doing all of it. Satan's Little Season, mud floods, Tataria, flat earth. He was like basically combining all conspiracy theories that exist and saying that his personal social security number was encoded to tell the world that he's the new Messiah, that he's Jesus, basically. Like that's literally what he believed. Oh. And he was ready to tell on stream his social security number. That's what he was about to do. So Adam was like, no, don't do that. So the reason I'm telling that story is because I really think that like 50% of people, let's just say online, let's ignore like the rest of the world for a second. 50% of people online at least are in some sort of what I would call like pre-psychosis stage of that. And it's because of COVID and all this other stuff, I would say.
I don't necessarily disagree. Hey, speaking of insanity, Maddox says, oh, hey, what's the name of Adam's book? I wanted to get it because I'm curious about his idea of the Christian psyop. Amalek, do you want to do a plug for Adam Green's book?
Yeah, it's called The Jesus Deception. It's on Amazon and it's on his website. He's working on the audiobook version, hopefully right now, hopefully. And
is he reading it himself?
Yeah, I convinced him to do it himself.
Oh, that's a fun project. I had to read a whole one of my books in like 3 days to make an audio version.
We're doing it on Audacity and things like that. I keep reminding him because I get lazy too, and it helps me when people like kick me in the ass to do things. So I'm just kicking him and keep telling him to do it. So he's doing the audiobook version. But the Jesus Deception, the whole Christian psyop thing, like the shortest version I can explain is that the belief here is that Jesus is a literary invention, not a historical guy. And that the literary invention was done by like for what purpose, right? Who made it and for what purpose? And Adam's book basically goes into that. The first 3 chapters is explaining like the context of the Bible's creation, how prophecy works, right? Giving you like the background of what Rome, what the ancient world was like when it was created. And then he explains like what's called the concept called midrash, right? And throughout the book, he basically argues and he explains that like the character Jesus that we have today is entirely a literary creation, like a literary device. He's like it's a myth, right? And the way he does that is he shows all of the pre-existing texts that crafted Jesus. So it's not just the Bible, but texts outside the Bible. Every single part of the Jesus story, from the beginning to the end, can be pulled out of pre-existing literature. Not a single part is novel or new. Not a single part of the Jesus story. So anyway, he uses scholarship to show this and goes through like some of the common arguments. And one of the things that you hear a lot is like, oh, no serious scholar believes in mythicism, and like a lot of these types of arguments that you'll hear commonly, or you'll get in as a response to AI. These are all copes, like extreme copes, and he goes through it in the book.
Like this person in the chat saying 500 people witnessed the resurrection and it was the most documented man ever. That type of cope, is that what you're talking about?
I get why they're saying that. They're repeating apologetics they heard from Christians who have PhDs, who are pretending that they're like biblical scholars, but they're really just Christian apologists. So that's what I do anyway. That's what I do on my thing. Is I think that in the way that like the pharmaceutical industry or the oil industry is captured and controlled, and everybody understands those industries and how they're basically like evil and tricking people and lying to people and they're fraudulent. Everyone understands what I'm saying when I say those things about the oil industry or the pharmaceutical industry or any industry, like Wall Street, whatever. What I'm telling you is biblical studies is the worst one. It's the most corrupt. It's the most dishonest. It's the most captured. And it's been like that since the very, very, very beginning. So you're getting the idea that, 500 people saw Jesus. It's the most documented, all this other stuff. Those are lies. It's in the book explaining why that's a lie. And I sympathize with why a Christian might say that, but it's just untrue. And if I wasn't deconstructing it like this, just so everybody knows, other people would do this later on. It's an inevitability is what I would say. Basically, there's a shelf life on Christianity with how people are able to like analyze texts where they would figure this out.
Fair enough.
Because they have to get work and meaning and mates, while the older people can silo themselves with their pre-established wealth and connections. This exacerbates a pre-established social meaning crisis that goes back centuries with the death of God. That means that people cannot psychologically orient themselves in the world. In general, in some ways, psychological disorder is harder on people than physical pain, which is why most historic societies prized religion so deeply, since it created a frame for humans to face suffering with meaning. That allowed their societies or peoples to grow and thrive, since life is innately chaotic. These days, young people are suffering profoundly for a litany of reasons I frequently talk about in my videos, between the skyrocketing cost of living or rent, the dating crisis, the West suicide, the horrifying psychological issues among young people, and a dozen other things. However, they have no mental framework for how to process any of this. They were told they'd live in the wealthy John Hughes Simpsons America, where they just have to show up and work hard, and then they could get a white picket fence and a beautiful wife and a solid life. And all of that was taken from them. This means that young people just suffer, and it's suffering with no sense of clarity, which hits very hard. At the same time, they've been totally betrayed by their entire society, where every major social institution in America has betrayed young people, between mass importing immigrants, AI killing jobs, the narrator classes going insane, inflation, and many other things. They're generally not smart or wise enough to construct their own coherent worldview by themselves. To be fair, that is a profoundly unreasonable and unrealistic expectation to put on them, and society even expecting them to do that was a betrayal. Normal social connections are also very weak now, so these young people normally don't find communities where they can process or talk through their own worldview or daily lives. Most people are also quite reserved and closed off, where they won't or don't talk about their own private struggles, even with their friends. This means that people have these enormous internal monologues of emotional chaos that stem from pretty crappy private lives, which the society will not even acknowledge, stuck in the fantasies of the John Hughes Simpsons America, and they know they can't.
Okay. The only people who give a flying fuck about Islam are conservatives. The left doesn't give a flying fuck about Islam. That is a conservative bullshit narrative. It's you idiots who are obsessed with fucking Islam and Muslims.
Trust
Wait,
anyone.
Bring them on. What did they say? I want to see what they said. Hold on, I was trying to read the thing.
Leftists never go hard on Islam. Only Jesus. And she's calling you a leftist, by the way.
That's
Only
fine.
Jesus, since their oppositions are evangelical Christians.
The left wing is against Christianity for multiple reasons, and they're not against Islam for multiple reasons. Like, I don't know what to
They're
tell
not
you. I'm
against
not a
Christianity
leftist.
either. They're not against. They're not. They think Christianity is the opiate of the masses. That it's going to go away as soon as capitalism is abolished, because Christianity is a coping mechanism for capitalism.
Yeah, the entire premise is just.
But the left doesn't care about Islam. They don't even talk about Islam. It's the right who are obsessed with Islam because they've been brainwashed to be obsessed with Islam and hate Muslims because of Jews and Israel.
I just want to like explain to this person, like, because I get this critique a lot, basically calling me a
Imran is
Reddit.
much nicer than me, by the way.
Yeah, well, maybe not.
He's a Libra.
Well, I always just try to see what the person's really trying to say and get at, and try to like address that issue rather than like remove the peel or like the outside layer. And what I think this person's trying to say is that like I'm a leftist gaytheist, or however you describe that, attacking Jesus. Yeah, like I get it. Like people say, oh, you're so Reddit. Like this is the way you because I get it. Basically, like there was a movement of new atheists, like fedora, neckbeard atheists and everything. And I fight with those people all the time. And I think that their critique of Christianity was false because it didn't go against Islam. You're totally right. I agree with you. Basically, they attacked Christianity because they saw it as like a proxy for the Bush administration and a way to like attack the Iraq war and the premise of the Iraq war as like a holy Bush war.
That's
okay?
true. Yeah.
So this is true, right? That's what they're trying to say. And
that's not what they're trying to say. They're going to say the left hates Christians.
Regardless,
and they want to persecute Christians.
Regardless, the new atheists didn't go after Islam because the point wasn't to actually deconstruct universal Abrahamism. They were pulling their punches from the very start. The whole position of new atheism starts from the framework that liberalism and universalism is correct, and that the Bible is like some hardcore right-wing document that encourages slavery and racism and all these other things. Like that was the premise that they came from. The premise I come from is that Islam, Judaism, and Christianity are all sects of the same Abrahamic religion, and I go after Islam just as hard as I do Christianity, except outside of the fact that my own people are Christian. So I have an obvious I'm going to talk about Christianity more because of that. Okay, but I deconstruct Islam all the time. I mean, as much as I possibly can. I interact with and do that. When Sneeko just started talking about the hadith and he doesn't know anything, I went over that. I just wrote an article about the end times in Islam, criticizing that. I just so yeah, I get what you're saying, but to be fair, I'm not coming at it from that perspective.
See, what you just did was very Libra because you were so much nicer than I would have been. I would have been called that person a retard and banned them from the chat for obviously not knowing what the fuck they were talking
I do that
about
on Twitter.
and not doing basic research on things.
I do that on Twitter, right? But
yeah,
I get that all the time, and it's just frustrating because I'm so against that type of critique of Abrahamism because I think it's Zionist in nature.
Of course it's Zionist in nature. They're brainwashed.
Yeah. This does is it forces them to doom scroll on radical content of one variety or another as the sole outlet for their repressed fear or resentment. When you see the horrors of the internet today, how moderate mainstream leftist streamers frequently call for political murder or horrifying bigotry, you need to zoom out to imagine the horror or pain that went into the anonymous souls you see online. What they're doing still isn't okay, where even in the deepest horrors of life, it's still your duty to behave correctly, but you can at least understand what's going on. Imagine some young person living in their horse stall of an apartment.
Oh, real quick, just so you know, while he tells us,
without their parents.
Part of what you have to understand about what he's saying is part of the anti-Semitism, I would call it, or however you want to describe this online. And like a lot of it is like the path of least resistance for rebellion.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
I don't have a special affinity towards Hitler or anything like that, but I love fucking talking about Hitler just because it pisses people off and I'm not supposed to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not that I'm like, oh my God, Hitler was amazing. Like, obviously, like, I don't think Hitler was like a perfect man by any stretch of the imagination, but it's fun to make people cry online.
Yeah, that's kind of what, that's what it's kind of become, I think, for a lot of people, which is, I mean, it's fine.
No.
support, with no real friends, haven't had sex in years, no sense of self, a school system that taught them nothing useful, but ritually flagellated them every class for things outside their control, and no one around them is ever willing to move past the fake broken smile of the positivity cult. Then they go online for the so little bit of fake freedom they can still pretend to have. That's who you're talking to. That's the person behind the anime profile pic. Remember, in this world, there will always be far more losers than winners. One of the things my father would say to me growing up is that most people do not have
That's a horrible thing to tell people. There will always be more losers than winners. That's a really shitty thing to tell people.
Their visions of the world while they look for confident leaders to take away their anxieties about living. If you stand on a hill long enough screaming, you will eventually get people to follow you. My father said that people were generally scared to take responsibility, so you should do so and then show why you're better than the competition. He also said that the way to make money was to keep accumulating useful skills until someone paid you for one. A close historic parallel to this is mob rule and Caesarism, where the mob will radically change its politics based on who's dominant at the moment. You can see this with the constant fluctuations of different factions in the French Revolution grabbing power, and then the mob will immediately shift from one highly complex, different political
This is why I'm like
post-populism to another without a.
What's that?
This is why I'm like, I get the basis for my ideas, and probably the basis of my support comes from people who are like would consider themselves populist.
I can't forget how the left during Russia.
Sorry, accidentally started that. My bad. Go ahead.
I was just saying, I get how like a lot of people probably in chat and a lot of people on the right are like populist or would consider themselves that, but this is why I'm anti-populist. Because I see it the way he's explaining it. Basically, like if you allow yourself to be ruled by a mob, this is why like when I get people that are, you know, quote unquote my followers or something, and they're in there and they're disagreeing with, they're disagreeing with my take on whatever. This is why I rip into them so hard. I don't want followers. I don't want anything like that, because like that's not actually conducive to what I'm trying to do. But what a lot of these guys, like a lot of how these people operate is through like basically like surfing a populism wave. And I think that when you allow yourself to be controlled by what is essentially like the collective consciousness of peasants, like you've already lost. Because there's never been a peasant revolution that succeeded. Okay, not a single one.
I understand where you're going now. Okay, I understand where you're talking about the leader allowing themselves to be controlled by the populace.
Yeah,
and that's fucking communism. That's literally the dictatorship of the proletariat.
Sure, but when I just mean the right-wing version of this. I want to encompass both the left-wing and the right-wing version of this. I just mean controlled by the mob, controlled by the, you know. And
no, I understand what like I wasn't following you when you said like I don't want to be a leader. So I'm like you are a leader. Like just provably you are. There are people who follow you around. There are people who look at everything you say and retweet and all. Like you provably are. But what you're actually saying
I'm never going to be controlled by the mob.
That's what you're actually saying is like I'm not like a populist. I'm not going to be controlled by my audience. And I think that that's really important. Like content creators who are controlled by their audience suck.
Well, that's so because I would be lying to myself if I would say like every time you send a tweet, you like think like, oh, what's the worst way that people that like me are going to take this? If that makes sense. Like it's just like a conscious sometimes and often a subconscious thought you have. So to me, the way you like combat that is just being as aware of that thought as possible. And from time to time, and I think Nick is aware of this concept too, by the way, you kind of throw it in their face and say like, fuck you, you're not going to control me. Again, like I think what Nick is doing
you really have to.
Yeah, he's like I said, he is not doing what I'm like. He's not doing the populism thing. He is like controlling the wave. Like I said, I at least I disagree with him, but I admire like the skill at what he's doing because that is what he's doing.
No, that's totally what he's doing. This is why I tell people all the time, like I have a hierarchy on my channel. I'm at the top of the hierarchy. You are not. If you don't accept that, you don't have to be here. Get the fuck out. Like. You really do have to be that explicit because your audience will try. Like every time someone comes into my replies and they're like, "I've been a supporter of yours forever," and blah 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 blah. Well, really, what they mean is they saw something. They saw me say something they liked in 2020 when I was really in favor of Trump and all that, and they supported me then. But then they haven't watched my content since, and then they stumbled back onto the channel and they just decided that they're going to try to dictate to me what I can say and what I can't say. Like literally, no, go away.
Yeah. You can see Nick doing it with his recent like rage baiting with Epstein, right?
Oh yeah, totally.
He's totally bucking his audience.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a good idea. I do it too. It's one of my favorite things.
It's so fucking fun. It's so amazing.
Gate changed their position on Comey like 4 times and no one noticed. This was all over the span of a few months too. One of my new favorite authors is the 19th century French thinker Gustave Le Bon.
Hang on, we got a super chat. Thank you so much, average person. Karlyn, I had 2 appointments back to back. Why didn't you pause either stream? I'm very sorry. I'm not going to schedule the stream. We actually had a lady in my chat the other day who was like, I'm at a dentist appointment. Why aren't you getting the show started yet? It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? We're not going to schedule the show around you. Thanks, average person. Appreciate it.
The guy he's talking about is really. I've read. Le Bon is good. He's describing what I'm talking about. It's a yeah. Keep going. He describes what I'm talking about here. Like it's the mass politics becoming like a closed system where the mob rules the leader and the leader's ruling the mob, and it's just you know what I'm saying. It's like it's like it's a feedback loop. And he explains how that works within the French Revolution.
One of his best books being on the crowd, he says that the crowd doesn't actually understand rational arguments since it exists several million years less advanced neurologically than individuals. That's since the crowd allows the abdication of responsibility and consequences. The crowd only understands the world through dominance, social norms, and symbols. It changes its opinions based on those. You can't see a lot of the radicalism today on both the left or the right as actual political issues. They're human issues. In our society, for some reason, politics is one of the few topics people are socially allowed to have dissenting positions on, at least sometimes, and people tend to drop all of their psychological anxieties into politics. People don't discuss religion, history, culture, art, or any other potential points for social discussion, but we do shove all of our sort of social and media points into political discourse, especially for the president and national politics. This means that politics becomes a manifestation of the resentments of the entire society. So when you're having a political argument, you're not actually talking about the thing you're talking about. You're talking about their entire built-up life of resentment, which is just manifesting in politics. I find that
so funny. I can't wait until he
profoundly
just shakes
scared
off
of
the chains.
vulnerability.
He just needs to shake off the chains instead of like basically my critique of him is that he's like observing and understanding the board and the game that's being played. And instead of just saying like, okay, this is the game, this is what's being played, these are the cards I'm dealt, how am I going to play it? He's like crying. He's still in the crying stage and the denial stage. And like, this is what I said in the, on your show, months ago or whatever, the peasant power, retard power, controlling the retards is what power actually is, political power. Okay. So
true.
To what degree everything he's describing is true, that the mob is ruled by idiots and all these other things, that means you have to have like a breakout moment. That's what it means. And you basically have to wrest control of the mob in your own way. And then you need to basically become your own elite movement, because every single other one is being propped up through the enemy, like as controlled opposition, every single one of them.
What he's doing is he's going through the 5 stages of grief.
Yeah.
Like I see people doing this on my channel like all the time, but he's like in the bargaining stage. He's like, if only this, then that. Like if only we could do this, then we could do that. It's like, no, bro, you're going to have to talk your way through this. You're going to get to acceptance at some point.
And non-conformity to a degree that doesn't seem to actually make sense logically. There's lots of sort of subconscious agreements to life in the West today where you're not supposed to act like you're better than others. You don't disagree with the left, even indirectly. You don't sexualize women publicly, or don't disagree or voice your personal life and traumas. It's exhausting to keep up, especially if you don't care. And it's really a wonder how a not particularly smart society can memorize all of these highly complex, stupid social rules. We really put a lot of social effort into training people to act like this. People should be talking about politics, since politics truly does matter, but they also should be talking about living. Whether you are happy from all the science we have is not really a political problem. A lot of third world peasants are happy. We shed all of our mental energies into politics, while we should also be talking about the breakdown of culture, community, people going broke, how terrible our diet is, our lack of knowledge about how the world really works. However, people don't, since it's seen as vulnerable or weak. In our culture, admitting deficiency is seen as weak or taboo, which is pretty insane for a society whose whole point is claiming to help victims. It's since we're stuck at a high school level of emotional development. The point I'm trying to make here is that when you're seeing the woke right, you're not seeing a political issue. You're seeing a cry for help by desperately hurt people.
Yes, and
when
what
Gen
are you
Z
going to
is
do about
screaming
it?
that they love Hitler and want
What do you mean?
This is my issue. Like, what is he going to do? Like, okay, listen, our people are cooked. They're retards. They suck. They're addicted to drugs. They're poor. They're crazy. They're drunks. They're degenerates. All these things. That's the purpose of what we're trying to do, is to reverse and fix those things, is to give them a community, to give them an identity, to do all these things. Just pointing it out constantly is just so, it's like, okay, we get it. Like, this is 2016. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting mad because it's just like, this is like, he's saying these things as if they're not self-evident.
minorities to die, they don't actually care about those topics. I know from what they say that the vast majority don't even know the slightest thing about World War II history, and there's a joke that all far-right guys have a Latino or an Asian girlfriend. They're trying to scream for help to a society in the only way they think it will hear. They've already said all the words they could to show their pain, and the olders didn't listen. They knew the older people really hated the Nazis and loved minorities they've never met more than their own children.
Is his idea is that they don't really believe any of the things they say they do. They just are pissed off at their parents and their grandparents for like serving them up a raw deal.
You see why I linked it to
they're saying that
totalitarianism?
they like Hitler just to piss people off.
Yeah, do you see why I'm linking it to the concept of like the authoritarian mind is the other book, right? It's the authoritarian mind, and I think the birth of totalitarianism or whatever the other one I mentioned earlier. Like, do you see now what I'm saying? Like, those are the underlying foundational books or ideas to what he's saying.
This feels like a giant exercise in projection to me at this point.
Oh yeah, so much of this is
he's working through his own issues.
Well, he's explaining how he feels is what I would say.
Yeah.
And I don't think that that's like a way of saying like it doesn't matter, because I think a lot of people feel the way that he's describing. I just think that instead of
this is not a detached analysis. This is working through your own issues publicly on the internet and pretending you're doing analysis, but really you're working through your own issues.
Yeah, but I will say like his overall point, like if I'm going to take him as like if I'm going to take it at like the most honest way I can, where he's basically saying like the people online who make up the dissident right, those people are a product of like being shitty people in general. I think that that's probably true. I would say that that's probably true. Not everybody, but you know, I'm trying to find
a lot of them are extremely toxic.
Yeah, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to like gather the gamers or find a diamond in the rough. You know what I mean? Like I only want to like work with people and talk to people who like kind of like get like a certain amount of like intellectual honesty, and that they're like free of the things we've been talking about because of this kind of thing. So I definitely think it's true. Unfortunately.
So they said that they were Nazis and they hated the minorities just to show how angry they were. They blamed the Jews for destroying the West since they couldn't emotionally process the reality that this was done by their own people. Their own leaders made the decision to destroy their own nations and civilization for reasons that don't actually make any sense. It had to be insidious foreigners. Most people are too irrational and weak for their words to mean the words they say. What I mean by that is that when an intelligent or strong person, someone who in the pre-modern culture was called a higher man, says something, they've gone through effort to parcel out whether this is the most articulate way to convey their point while separating their emotions or intentions from the nature of the situation. Most people just say it, though, rationalizing their emotional state, and this is very much borne out by the statistical evidence. That means when you're seeing these insane political opinions, if you actually drilled them for why they believe them, they wouldn't even be able to explain what those political positions even
100% agree.
factually are. I've seen internet crowds be aghast when I say that Hitler openly wanted to genocide the Slavs and Jews. That was a long-standing motivation of the Nazi Party, completely in line with
It's funny, I call this
public
Big Chungus
speeches
Hitler.
or
Have you
Mein
seen
Kampf.
this?
Big Chungus Hitler.
Have you seen these types of people who think like Hitler, like he didn't want to hurt anybody, he didn't want to do anything.
Oh yeah, those people. I'm like, fuck
He loved
you.
all people. He loved Arabs and he loved Muslims
animals
and he loved
and
Indians.
and here's a picture of him petting a deer. And I'm like,
Yeah, he never would have harmed a single person. But what he's describing as far as like people taking a position because they're so, it's like in the same way that like communists have like a class breakdown of things, there's like a generational, like we need to have like a generational critique. And what's happening is like it is generational. So like it is generational warfare. It is a lot of people taking a position because their parents or the older generations, oh, you're anti-racist, oh, you're anti-Nazi because your father or grandfather fought them. Well, I'm pro that. And there is a lot of people like that. And what happens is, I think, is that so many people now have become like that because of what happened with COVID and 10/7. That basically what's happened is now you have people that are jumping on the bandwagon, right? So it's becoming like this like self-perpetuating thing where essentially that kind of idea that people have, like, oh, fuck my parents or fuck my grandparents, they fucked me over, now I'm going to take the most completely opposite idea. That is, I think, what drives a huge amount of stuff we see online. And I think like a good example of this is Elijah Schaffer. I don't think he actually is racist or he actually knows or gives a shit about Jews. I don't think he does at all. I think he sees this as like a Machiavellian way, and this is what's popular right now, and all these other types of things. I don't think if you were to sit there and interrogate him on his views,
I don't know if I agree with that. I think that Elijah came to these ideas a lot earlier than a lot of people did.
Oh, I know. I've been observing him since like 2018 or something. So I've just watched since the beginning, and I've always felt this way about Elijah. That, you know, if this wasn't like the cool thing to do and this wasn't part of his identity, he like wouldn't have these ideas.
I mean, it kind of seems to me that he's gotten massively fucked over because of these ideas, though. It's not like he's well, I guess he has benefited in some ways, but in other ways he really hasn't.
Well, it's not like he's sitting there and being like, okay, I'm going to take this position because of what I'm talking about is like subconscious, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like it's what I'm trying to like, I'm not trying to like armchair psychologize too much here, but I don't think that it's like a conscious decision of
like
his.
He's seeking validation or something like that, and that's the way it's manifesting.
Yeah,
he,
yeah.
like, subconsciously believes that's how he's going to get validated.
Well, it just makes sense. Like, yeah, I guess a good way that I think I know this is because this is kind of how I maybe originally came to these ideas somewhat, I would say. Like my family is a similar background, and I think you know, a lot of people my generation are. So I sympathize with that. I understand that. I have these ideas despite those things, is what I would say, like coming to those conclusions. But I think that that's where most people came to them from, that kind of idea. And I think that I don't think if I could interrogate Elijah Schaffer and like make him take truth serum, I think I would be proven correct that he isn't actually like, you know, racist, and he isn't actually like anti-Semitic.
I've been chatting with Elijah in the DMs since all this shit went down, and there's nothing super exciting about it. It's just like we've been chatting back and forth, and I'm like I'm thinking of like trying to convince him to come on my channel and let me interview him. I'm thinking about it. I don't know if I actually want to step in that particular, you know, like pit of mud or whatever the fuck, but I think it could actually be a really interesting conversation.
Look, my opinion on everybody pretty much is like everyone fucks up, everyone makes mistakes. I have a lot of forgiveness, not like Christian forgiveness, but I want people that are like useful and can do things. And as much as I dislike Elijah and I disagree with a lot of things he's doing and all this other stuff, like, and I think he's like a shill, and there's so many things so many issues I have with him. But despite that, like, he does do things in the real world. Like, he has built people's studios, right? And he does do things, and, you know, we don't get to pick the cards we were dealt. So if he wants to like be useful, then he should like be useful and stop being useless, is what I would say. Right. And being useless is making posts like, I encourage everyone to go to church on Sundays, posting from within like an Orthodox church that would literally kick him out if they found out that that's what he was doing.
Yeah, but he's working out his feelings right now too. So
Okay, well, I don't need your fucking Instagram post from inside the church showing that you're praying.
listen. You gotta admit, like, can we just cut the guy just a little bit of slack? He's kind of been through a massive public trauma, and it's like that couldn't have been easy. And I don't know.
He
Maybe
needs
let him have
Jesus because he doesn't want to be like gay or whatever, and I don't, or addicted to porn or what, all these other things. So fine, do that, but don't mix it into your politics, fucker. You fuckface, stop it. If you need Jesus because it's your AA, your personal AA pill to stop you from like being a degenerate or drugs, whatever it is that's the Jesus keeping you from, if that's what Jesus is to you, then fine, keep it. Have that. Totally awesome. But now it's a don't ask, don't tell. And you stop doing political Jesus, because my issue is not really with like the AA Jesus. I actually kind of understand that concept and I don't really have too much of a problem with it. The real problem is political Jesus, and he's doing both.
See, now Amlek's more mean than me.
These people have lived comfortably enough for their entire lives that they cannot genuinely process the reality of a society's collapse or a slide into the total state where they have no freedom. It's just edgy words for them. However, this is always how freedom dies, from the foolishness of the public. Part 2, Factions of the Right. I have some experience with conservative coalition building and right-wing politics today. If you want, I can make a video about everything I've learned about the new right from it. However, one of the very interesting things is that there are so many different subtypes of people on the right. There was this really cool chart that went viral online about how the right has so much more intellectual diversity to it, to a truly vast degree, than the left does. I wonder if the researchers who made that watch my videos, since that's been something I've been saying for years. On the right, I see a wide Overton window of people between genuine Nazis, fascists, theocrats, libertarians, classical liberals,
because the right is
neocons.
Hang on, classical liberals are not on the fucking right. They have liberal in the name.
Cons, nationalists, Christians, and so many other groups. I stand by my video where I split the right into 4 factions, which I explain in this text wall. The right is hugely intellectually diverse now and is in a place of chaotic indeterminacy. I wanted to say creativity, but as of now, I don't think that's true since the internet rewards groupthink so much. But there is a huge potential for enormous creativity since no new consensus has formed due to the loss of trust in the boomer cons. This is opposed to the left, which has a single dogmatic line where they punish their own dissenters to their own madness more than they do the right. The right, as of now, doesn't have any intellectual lines or principles. What the Nazi stuff
That's not even
showed
true.
is
That's not even true about the left. And this again goes back, like the last video I watched of him critiquing the left, he got everything completely fucking wrong. That is not true that the left criticizes their own internal dissenters more than they criticize the right. They criticize the right all the fucking time, and they handle their internal dissent in a completely different way. He's going based off of conservative clickbait.
I don't necessarily disagree with what you just said. I think a lot of what you said is true. However, I would say like the point of what he's saying is still the essence of like the people on the right are attracted to people, right? And they're following people, which is why there's so much ideological diversity, because it's more about people. And on the left, because it's about ideas, the people don't matter as much. The ideas matter.
Yes.
So they have a more solid, concrete ideology. So he's like flipping this and saying like, oh, look how awesome the right is because they have freedom, because to him, freedom is like the number one principle rather than order, which is
but like he even said it himself earlier in this video. He gets attacked more by people on the right. Like I get attacked more by people on the right. You guys get attacked more by people on the right. So I to say that it's better because there's more ideological diversity. No, it actually creates more fucking problems. There's way more infighting on the right than there is on the left, to a significant degree.
Yeah, basically, in my view, you know, what the right needs is it needs like a decisive victory, like over the chaos. Is essentially what it's looking for, and it can't find one.
What the right needs is to kick all the fucking liberals and Zionists out of the movement. That is actually what they need. Hey,
well, I don't think
W
that's all
Cheek Butt. Hang on one sec. W Cheek Butt becoming a member of the channel. Really appreciate that, bro. Thanks so much. What'd you say? Sorry.
I think I think that's just like a symptom, right? Like there's like liberals and Zionists and things like that are in the right wing. I think that's like a symptom of the problem, and the problem is that the right wing structurally is about people rather like personality cults rather than ideas. I just think it's like a symptom
Yeah,
of that.
maybe.
You know what I mean?
Maybe that's
So you
that
got
might be true.
so you basically have to solve that problem. In my view, the way you solve that problem is you personality cult your way to a cohesive ideology. Does that make sense?
No, this is like no. I'm 100% on board now. I had to think about it for a second, but no, you're completely right that like the right is all about like what does my favorite influencer say? Who disagrees with my favorite influencer? It's always about like who's on my side, who's saying the things I want them to say, who's supporting the people I like, that all that sort of thing. You're right about that.
It's all personal. It's not ideological.
Yeah.
Ideological. Yeah.
Exactly. It's not an intellectual discussion ever. It's all about just like feelings.
Very few people in the youth right have any genuine grounding in real conservatism. That since the Nazis in most cases have more in common with the left than they do with old stock conservatives.
No.
The Nazis were modernist atheists who hated Christianity.
Oh, for fuck's
They were
sake.
totalitarians who did not believe in the free market and thought that everyone should be a slave to the state. They were enemies of almost all of the values of Western civilization and thought that humans don't have souls or life doesn't have meaning.
He
The
honestly
Nazis
thinks that
are
Western
very,
civilization and like the ideological pinnacle of civilization of the West is two things: universality of ethics and universalism in general, and freedom. That's his in his hierarchy. It's freedom and then universalism. Like those are the things that they need to protect, which is why he's, from his perspective, oh, the Nazis were left wing because they're not conservatives. He's right. They were anti-Christian. They were modernists. They were totalitarian. They were all those things. They did believe in like, a restructuring of the economy to benefit the people rather than corporations. So from his point of view,
but the Nazis were like maintained private property ownership. The left does not maintain private property ownership. It's a completely different worldview, and it's like this is where he does not understand the left, and so he's making a false
100%. Yeah, no, you're so because he thinks that basically like what the left is they're anti-freedom, right? Yeah, but that's actually not what the left is at all. Like that's actually has nothing to do with what the left is. Yeah. So you're right. Yeah, it's because he doesn't understand the other side that he's not able to even understand like the full picture.
Very different from what normal Western conservatives stand for. The people who keep on saying that the real conservatives are Nazis don't actually understand anything about what real conservatism means.
He keeps using conservatism and right wing interchangeably too.
Yeah, he is. Yeah,
It's just those are not the same thing, guys. Like that's a very like, oh, I grew up. It's a very Zoomer way of looking, or maybe even millennial way of looking at the world. Like I don't know what to tell you. Like that's just not the reality. Conservatism and right wing, like conservatism is just like a category in the right wing.
Complete seizure of the social narration for decades, meaning that the incredibly advanced culture or philosophy that went into building Western civilization, which modern conservatives pull from, has not been passed on to the next generation, while at the same time, the boomer cons really cucked out for living memory. Keep in mind that before the World Wars, all of the West's elites for thousands of years were raised in the classical tradition and the Bible, which created a vastly richer, deeper, and more complex worldview that we just lost over the course of the 20th century. What all of this adds up to is that the entire culture, including the right.
Go ahead.
This is important. Okay, listen. Okay, this is like this is anti-European and anti-white, and I'm like gonna outflank him here on this. He sits here and says like, "Oh, I'm a conservative. Oh, I'm a true conservative, like before the Nazis and all these other things." Okay, the idea that our culture and our ideas in Europe, that basically like our elites were reading the Bible and they were getting their ideas and their morality from the Bible. Oh, that's that's why we were so successful. That in itself is anti-white. The best parts of the Bible, like the best ideological parts, like the Stoicism and some of like what I would call like the metaphysics of the Bible, all of the best parts of it that I say are like useful parts of the Bible are all pre-Christian paganism, Hellenistic ideas that existed long before Christianity. To sit there and be like, oh, Christianity did this, and that's what gave us our morals and ethics, and if that's what, you know, that it worked out so well for us. The period of time that he's talking about is literally like the 30 Years' War, where millions of Germans killed each other over religion. So how did that work out for us? How did that work out for us? You're sitting here pretending like we ate a poison pill and there was no negative effects at all. And look how good the poison tasted. It was so awesome. And it's just ridiculous. The whole premise is just ridiculous. We were not like great because of Christianity. Okay. Christianity would not be around without us. It basically like, it like hijacked our hardware or in a way that, I don't know. I hate this concept, this idea that we get our moralities and we got our moralities from Christianity, and like everything about that was positive. It was a double-edged sword. We basically took in Christianity, and for that we murdered each other for 1,500 years. Go read about the Northern Crusades against the Latvians. Go read about like the way what's his name? Charlemagne treated the Saxons. Go read about those things and understand that like those things, that those positive aspects of the philosophical metaphysical tradition are not free. They come with a price, and the price is all of the pain and suffering and destruction that Abrahamism has wrought this world, which is not nothing.
But I thought that Christianity taught us not to kill Amalek. I thought that we never would have learned not to kill people if it weren't for Jesus.
Yeah, everything about it is just dumb, and these guys aren't even, they don't understand like the intellectual history of Christianity, even to understand that like even like the most medieval versions of Christianity, and then like all the way up through the 1600s and 1700s, and like post-Reformation, like these guys don't understand like the intellectual, like the conversation that was, that like the inner conversation of Christianity was like always fighting and toiling with what I'm saying as well. So it's just like, they're just totally missing the point. I don't know. It just frustrates me to no end when people do this thing where they attribute like our intellectual greatness or morality to Christianity, when I think those things absolutely like predate Christianity, and they were not free. They costed millions of lives over the, you know, all of our history.
Okay, before we get back into the video, we got a couple W's to give out for some channel memberships. We got a W for Ginny over on Rumble gifting a channel membership. We got W's for Channel Longo gifting a channel membership. W's for Anthony. Really appreciate it, you guys. Thank you so much for contributing to the channel. Why is Amalek yelling? He can do whatever the fuck he wants. It's really attractive when he yells, so just let the man cook, okay? What are you doing? Leave him alone.
Sorry, I get mad about it. I get in arguments with people all the time, basically every day, that say this to me, say some version of this to me. They say, oh, without Christianity, we would be nothing. And then they're telling me that I'm anti-white. And I think what they're doing, like, people don't understand. The reason that people are like anti-white, and the reason that there's so much self-hatred, is because for 2,000 years, we've been doing that. Mm-hmm. We've been saying we are great because of our religion. Okay. We are great because of anything else other than like us. Like, what makes us great? Well, the answer for basically 1,500 plus years has been anything but ourselves and our families and our traditions and things like that. It's always been, oh, it's Christianity, all these things. In my view, like the earliest Christians went around smashing up graves and like lobbing off like noses of statues to people's ancestors. From the very beginning of Christianity, in my view, the whole concept has basically been like against your own traditions. And I think that this is the source of like anti-whiteness. So when I see people say that thing like that he just said, that's my, like, it disgusts me, because I can't believe no one else sees this.
I think a lot of people see it.
Yeah.
Exists in opposition to the left. These people pretend to be Nazis since they don't understand any of these things, and the left told them that the Nazis were so bad. The right is so weak, they weren't able to put up a fight against a framing the left built to make the right look as bad as possible. That since the left has called people who are ostensibly moderate classical liberals Nazis for decades. They gave the name Nazi enormous emotional power, and lots of people like to live in that straw man.
Again, he does not understand the left. He also doesn't understand Nazis because he doesn't understand that the left calls people fascists if they don't want to abolish private property ownership. That is like, if you are not a fucking communist, if you don't want to get rid of all private property, you are a fascist because you are literally excluding people from getting the resources they need, blah, 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 blah.
It would be like if I called people Abrahamist if they disagree with my approach to destroying Abrahamism.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Karlyn, you don't want to help me like deconstruct Jesus mythicism and Paul and the New Testament? Okay, well then you're just like an Abrahamist. Like, I'll see you at synagogue. I'll see you at synagogue, Karlyn. Like, that's basically what that's what the communists are doing when they do that.
That's exactly it. Yep.
Yeah.
Power attached to the name. I have several different designations I've found from dealing with young right-wingers. The first being that there are generally 3 ways people get into conservatism. The first being ethnic conservatives, the second being book conservatives, and the third being internet conservatives. I'm a mix of all 3, but I'm predominantly ethnically conservative, or this was something I was born into, since both of my parents are right-wing as of now, and I grew up in rural Pennsylvania in an area that was pretty strongly culturally conservative at the time. The book conservatives are the rarest these days, where they would read Thomas Sowell, Milton Friedman, or Carlyle, and it changed their
mind. And what they do
the
read is they make it their whole personality. It's like, I read Jordan Peterstein, and now I fixed my life sort of thing, right? Like that's basically like how all of them are.
It's actually so mind-blowing when you realize how little research these people do, and they literally just take all their talking points from whoever they're listening to at any given time. And usually those talking points are from like YouTube shorts or videos from Twitter that are less than 3 minutes long.
You know someone's a conservative when they tell you what they're like they're shoving a book in your face, right? Like when that they're reading or something like that, you'll know that, you want me to pat you on the head for reading your book, like baby's first book or something like that. It's so funny. I want to mention something before we keep going on this that he said. Yeah. He talks about like how so much of the left is like a reaction against Christianity, and this is such an important point. And your chat was saying it too, and a lot of people were saying this. So many people join the left, and they're part of the left tradition, and they're like just defaulting to the left because they don't want to be Christian. Like, let's just be very, very clear. So when the right holds that position and thinks that it's like intrinsic to it and defends that point and tries to keep to it, and all the things that I fight against, what's happening is we're basically like ceding that ground to the left, because so many people just default to the left because they're against, the excesses of Christianity today for obvious reasons.
Yeah. And then the Christians come in and they try to proselytize to them and they damn them to hell and all this stuff, and it just makes the problem worse.
Well, I would say that how many people in the far left, or just like the left in general that you observe, do you think that they're that way because of anti-Christianity?
I really don't think it's as much as people think. Now, like now certainly they talk about Christianity a lot when it comes to like conservatives and shitting on conservatives, but what they actually say more often is like conservatives are the ones perverting Christianity to oppress people and all this stuff. And because remember, they're co-opting a lot of the churches, and so when the left is running the church, when the left is like in the pulpit, they have no fucking problem with it. It's just the evil conservatives who are bastardizing Christianity.
It's funny, they both do no true Christian.
Yep.
Yeah, I just would say like a lot of like normie or maybe default leftists who like initially get into leftism, I think that a lot of them do get into it like I would call
conservative Christians. They're against conservative Christians.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're not
conservative Christians are assholes.
They're absolutely not talking about like the open borders, LGBT plus, Christians. They're talking about like the George Bush evangelical megachurch and even Catholics, and they're talking about those types of people.
They love woke Christians. They like when they were doing the protests in like outside the immigration facility in Chicago, they had it was like a whole Friday exercise where every Friday they would have all these Christian pastors show up and like do their protests and all this stuff. So they love Christianity when it's on their side. It's just using it to say, oh, it's conservatives who are perverting Christianity to ruin everything, and Jesus was an immigrant and Jesus would have abolished borders and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, I think that this dialectic going back and forth of like the right wing and left wing, like using Christianity as a football, has basically in my view, we have to take the football away from both sides here, because it's just they're talking past each other, and they're like not cutting to the point, and they're both like being dishonest, and they're both saying like you're a hypocrite because you're not following Jesus. Oh yeah, well you're not. Like it's basically like making a political battle into like a spiritual one, and like it's fighting over the spirituality that is itself Jewish. Like I don't like we have to basically both sides need to be. This is why I talk to like this is why I'm so broad with who I want to like spread my message to, and I talk to leftists and things like that, and people that might not share my politics, because I want everybody on both the left and right to have this understanding, and like basically like I said, like get rid of the football. Like we got to take it away from both of them. They can't keep doing this.
I agree.
Conservatives are the biggest now, where their political views are formed by the algorithm. This is a really dangerous demographic, since their political views are formed without any reference to reality or common sense. The thing I'm about to talk about took me a while to figure out, in that I grew up in a fairly culturally dense society. I was told about what the appropriate sexual roles for men and women were, social class and how to relate to it, my ethnic identity, my nation's position in the world, and my genealogy. I was given a religion and a code of politeness. In other words, I inherited a cultural framework from the world as a child, which I didn't even think about as I became an adult. It was only as I became an adult and traveled.
Has there ever been a
more
single
around
human being
the
on Earth
world
who
and the
doesn't have the
country.
exact experience that he just described?
What? Say again.
Has there ever been a human being who ever grew up in Earth who didn't have the exact same experience that he just described?
No, but what did he just describe? Sorry.
The
I was like not tracking for some reason.
He's like, I grew up and I was given my I was given my ideology and my ideas and everything I think about the world from society and the deal and my like he
Oh
basically
yeah,
said,
yeah. I
like-
agree with you. Yes.
like
yeah.
every single human being throughout all of time forever has all had the exact same experience, and he's like acting like it's some like it's some sort of crime or wrongdoing that has happened to him.
Yeah, again, it's like this is just him working out his feelings.
Well, doesn't that sound like the left to you? That's kind of what I'm getting at. Is it sounds because they do the same thing. They like feel like
I see the right working out their feelings through projection a lot more, honestly. I mean, well, the left does it too. Everyone does it.
no. I mean this idea that like, you know, like you're born and you're owed something else, if that makes sense. Like by being the nature of being born, like a lot of the left be like, like the fact I had to have a job, or you know, the capitalist structure itself, or however they view, however they're critiquing capitalism, right? They always view it through this like lens that it's not fair. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of how it is, and that's kind of what he's like. He's like, it's not fair. I was born in a society. Is basically what he's saying.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Like everyone was born in a society. What do you complain? Like the goal is to change the society. If you don't like the society, like complaining of the nature of how society is for retards. Like I don't know what to tell you.
Then I realized this just wasn't true for everyone around the world. It seemed really strange that city people just often seem to not have a culture. They just went to their job, bought stuff, and tried to date.
Somebody in the chat said,
that is so fucking stupid. City people don't have a culture. I'm sorry. Boston has a culture. New York City has a culture. Chicago has a culture. Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle. They all have fucking cultures. What are you talking about?
I hate this right-wing fetishization with ruralism. I hate it so much. It's so gay. It's like right-wing hobbitism. It's fucking disgusting. Like we're not gonna win by like it's retarded.
Like tell me you haven't traveled a lot to major cities if you really think that no major city has a culture.
Or you know, I'm just gonna grant it to him. Let's just say, okay, fine. Urbanite culture is more plastic than and less traditional than rural. Okay, fine. Can you show me a single movement in all of history, Rudyard, that won from the rural part of the country, that took power from the rural parts of the country and then actually won and achieved its goals and took power? Oh, no, every revolution of all time ever has been done by elites in urban settings. Oh, okay, then what the fuck are you talking about? Like, it's just such a retarded pussy way to look at the whole situation. The urban's the only thing that matters. Nick talks about this. Nick talks about this too. It's true.
Incomprehensible to me, and it took me a while to figure out how this was even possible. Keep in mind I have a background in history, and this sort of thing is very historically rare. Another designation I've built is between red state and blue state conservatives. Blue state conservatives, especially in the Northeast, have a reputation for being completely insane, often far-right Nazis. The New York City right-wing youth
Wait, rewind
scene
that. Who do you
is
call
known
far-right
as-
Nazis?
Wait, he said if you're a blue state conservative, then you are insane and a far right Nazi.
Oh, I see what he's saying.
especially in the Northeast, have a reputation for being completely insane, often far-right Nazis. The New York City right.
Okay, so I live in New Hampshire, so apparently I live around a lot of far right Nazi
No.
conservatives.
No,
I
he's saying,
like this is
that's not
actually
what he's
really
saying.
good
Hold on, that's not what
fucking
he's
news, Roger. Thank you.
Hold on, he said. Well, hold on. Hit play for the New York
Base,
City
New
part.
Hampshire.
He's right with what he said. He's saying that the left views anybody in the Northeast that's right wing as a Nazi. That's what he's saying.
No. That's not what he said. He's saying that conservatives who live in blue states get pushed further right because the left in their states drives them insane and drives them into the open arms of the far right, and they become Nazis. That's what he's saying. Here,
Yeah, because they call him Nazis, because they're calling them Nazis. Because that's the whole premise of the whole thing. Yeah.
But he's saying, and I'm like, I'm just really pleased to know that I'm surrounded by far right Nazis in New Hampshire. This is great news.
He's right
That
about
seemed
the New York
completely
City Nazis.
incomprehensible to me, and it took me a while to figure out how this was even possible. Keep in mind I have a background in history, and this sort of thing is very historically rare. Another designation I've built is between red state and blue state conservatives. Blue state conservatives, especially in the Northeast, have a reputation for being completely insane, often far-right Nazis. The New York City right-wing youth scene is known as a harbor for trans furry Nazis with periodic scandals like the recent Signal group chat leak.
He's totally right. I don't know what to tell you.
Republicans in New York City are trans furry Nazis? Real?
What he's trying to describe is if you're in like a blue
Do you have
state,
direct experience with this?
Okay, I am not a far right furry Nazi, but I understand the premise of what he's saying.
Do you know far right furry Nazis that are trans?
Like he's literally referencing Greg Johnson. For anyone who's like an old head, like that's who he's talking about. I know I know what he's talking about. So I know what he's talking about is real. I don't think it's like prescriptive for the whole country or like a worldview. I don't know. I think what he's trying to say is basically like in blue states, like let's say New York or Connecticut or in the Northeast, those people who are Republicans that live in those states are weird types of Republicans. They're not like your normie Republicans. That's really what he's trying to observe here.
Yeah, and I will tell him that again, living in New Hampshire, that's actually full of garbage. The Republican Party here sucks. They're not Nazis. I fucking wish they were Nazis. He might be confusing them with like the libertarians based on the LPNH Twitter account, but the LPNH Twitter account is run by one fucking person that no one even likes anymore. And it's like it's so absurd to think. I fucking wish the Republican Party in New Hampshire were far right Nazis, Rudyard. I wish. I don't
even think he's talking about the Republicans. I think he just means like the right wingers in general. But maybe.
I mean, that's just not true. The Republicans in New Hampshire are a bunch of fucking pussies.
He like constantly interchanges conservative, right wing, and Republican, so it's kind of hard to like really pinpoint him down on that to see what he meant. But yeah.
The first furries were the KKK. True or false?
There is a thing that I don't know that I don't know that is a thing. Like I don't know what to tell you guys, but there are like furry Nazis, and like I don't know, like it sucks that's a thing. But
I don't know. I don't want to know how you know this information. Let's get back into the video.
Because they're in my replies, annoying the fuck out of me.
Replies.
Because they're all Christian, obviously.
The Christian furry Nazis. Okay. Yeah, well, you know what, Amalek, you are the audience that you attract. Here's what I've learned being a content creator. Maybe you should work on that.
By the way, just as a social rule, what happens in group chats stays in group chats, and leaking group chat is a staggering violation of the bro code that should not be socially tolerated. Blue state conservatives are often insane since they're just getting conservatism from the internet, but not a coherent living culture like what you'd get if you grew up in a red state. This means that the only thing they know is opposition to the left that they hate. The blue states have gotten really bad. I'm always horrified when I hear news from them, whereas the thing I have coined Lynch's law states, the left is always more mentally ill than you think.
See,
meanwhile,
and again, this is like only people who have not listened to the left actually believe this is conservative bullshit slop. I mean, do better, Rudyard. Come on.
Conservatives
they're not insane.
They're
to what
not.
degree? And to what degree they're motivated by insanity? The right wing is as much or more.
Yes. This is like I don't know if you saw my Dr. Drew interview, but he was trying so fucking hard to get me to say that the left is mentally ill and they have personality disorders. And I basically said to him, I was like, both sides have personality disorders. Both sides are levels of insanity. The left is very smart. They are very organized. They are very strategic about what they do. They do not behave like insane people. And it's like, if you're letting clickbait dictate your analysis and you're not doing any additional research, I just don't know what to tell you. Like, this is slop.
Yeah, I've been in like politics or extreme politics for a long time, and guess what? It attracts psychologically irregular people. Okay,
real.
The nature of politics and talking about politics and being in politics, the further away you get from the middle, the more crazy you get. Okay, that's just how it works. Or the higher percentage chance that someone's crazy from the middle they are. Okay, so that's just like the nature of the political realm. And if our politics was like ancient Rome, or it was 1500s Germany, or whatever, or 1930s Germany, like whatever, like it would be the same thing. This is just like a state of the political world that I don't know what to tell them. It's the nature of it.
Yeah.
Naive and complacent, since although conservatism was a culture they grew up in, they have no concept for how much the left radically loathes them and wants their entire world to end. This was something that really shocked me when I went to California or big cities on the East Coast. I was called a redneck a lot, which is just utterly insane since I'm from the greater Philadelphia area and my parents are both well-educated. I was told Pennsylvania is flyover country while we're on the East Coast. I found a lot of hostility for no reason that I could discern.
I'm gonna say things that I don't believe happened. I've traveled extensively to major cities. I come from an actual small town in Vermont. I've never had any of these things happen to me. Never. Never.
It's because you're like not a spiritual hobbit like him. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, he's literally like, he's into, like, I feel like there's going to be a Return to the Land collab with Rudyard one day kind of thing, like, I don't know. I'm just like so against that. I don't know. I'm so against, I don't that's what they are. That's what they're like. They think really that we can just like move into the woods and like live a traditional lifestyle and just like, oh, we'll have more kids in the left and then there won't be any more leftists and then in the end we'll win. Like that's kind of how they see these problems, and they're totally not understanding how power works, and they don't, because they're afraid to actually like interact with or do anything is kind of what I think is going on. But like, this idea that, everyone thinks I'm a country boy because I'm from Pennsylvania. It's fucking retarded. And the reason that people talk to you like that is because you are basically like a traditional, like, let's move out to the woods and like freedom is the highest order and the Nazis were left wing guy, dude. That's why people talk to you like that.
Much resented when Obama said rural Pennsylvanians were holding on to guns, tradition, and religion since they feared progress. Progress entailed our state's complete social collapse due to deindustrialization, by the way. We didn't know any of this was happening and are unclear why you hate us so much. What happened? However, the elite coastal circles have boxed out almost all Americans from their world order. The entire population is going crazy now, which includes both the right and the left. Modernity has had a critical failure of socialization in that the entire society is falling through the cracks of change that was too rapid for our society to adjust. The population has gone utterly insane. All the major institutions have failed. Our own elites are trying to murder their nations. The currency will soon be worthless. People don't have children or even date. No art or culture is produced anymore, and the major cities are breaking down. The sole reason for this is that our culture was not able to adapt to the rate of change, and so people became isolated, mentally ill, and broken. Meanwhile, we exist in a very short-sighted and petty culture where no one will ever...
Go ahead.
What did he attribute to the fall of all those things?
I'm not sure. I'll rewind a little bit.
Population has gone utterly insane. All the major institutions have failed. Our own elites are trying to murder their nations. The currency will soon be worthless. People don't have children or even date. No art or culture is produced anymore, and the major cities are breaking down. The sole reason for this is that our culture was not able to adapt to the rate of change, and so people became isolated, mentally ill, and broken.
That's so
Meanwhile, we exist in a very short-sighted and petty culture where no one will ever say that they're broken. The funny irony is that literally everyone from the richest to the poorest today is broken. That includes me. I'm broken, but I'm also going to win, and I do want to continue to live and grow. So to pull back to the stated topic, if the woke right exists, it would be a highly specific sub-demographic. It wouldn't be the boomer cons or the older conservatives in power, who are profoundly moderate in the grand scheme of things. Calling Trump far right is insane, given 99% of humans in history were more right-wing than him. Meanwhile, red state conservatives aren't as susceptible to this stuff, since they're part of a distinct culture which taught them traditional American values, Christianity, and how a normal society works. The thing I really dislike about the woke right is that they're completely opposed to traditional American values, which is what being an American conservative means to me. The book conservatives aren't woke right either.
Hold on, go back to that list real
of the
quick. I want to
books
see
they
that list
read
of hierarchy.
support
See what I'm
this
talking about?
Okay. Hang on. Okay.
See, look, you see what I'm telling you?
Freedom. Yeah.
Yeah. This is his hierarchy. This is what matters to him. Right? Like freedom, self-control,
Christianity,
individualism, egalitarianism, all these things. You see this? So what he's describing, like what the woke right is right-wingers who are usually anti-Zionist and usually racist, we'll just say, or identitarian, you could say. They're right-wingers who oppose freedom, individualism, egalitarianism, quote unquote fairness, the value of human right, and sobriety and practice, all this other, like those are like, but really what I want to hone in on is the other stuff, like this like egalitarian freedom as his highest order thing. So he thinks that's what the right wing is. To him, to be right wing is that freedom and these universal values that he lays out here, like those are the most important things. So so when they describe the woke right, they do see it as like a civil war within the right about where we're going. And to them, keeping it like this list right here, these 10 things, is like, it's like existential. If the right wing loses its universality and it loses its, and it values order over freedom, which is really what the heart of the issue is, or sovereignty over freedom, okay? If that actually were to happen, they're terrified of what that becomes. I mean, it basically becomes like space Nazis. Like it basically becomes like colonized space Nazis. Like Aryan futurism is what it becomes.
Hey, guess what? We're watching a movie in my Discord about space Nazis. I think either next week or the week after.
Oh, hell yeah.
Just FYI.
Those are good ones.
Values, which is what being an American conservative means to me. The book conservatives aren't woke right either, since none of the books they read support this idea. The woke right is made up of a subsection of the internet-based right, who entered conservatism without any cultural immune system for it. Part 3. What is the woke right? One of the core sticking points of this debate was James Lindsay saying Orrin McIntyre was—
I fucking hate Orrin McIntyre. I don't understand why Orrin McIntyre is famous. I think he's an intellectually dishonest shitbag. I think that he has no interesting ideas. I've never seen him say anything compelling. I don't like him at all in any way. And I hate that he's become the symbol of this because he's like the most boring asshole on the fucking internet.
Woke right. I know Orrin personally, and I've read his work, and he has a worldview fairly identical to what a lot of America's founding fathers had. It seems strange to call that woke right, since that would basically be saying that America's founding, or the thing our social institutions and culture were built on, would be radical. That sounds very much like the sort of thing a leftist would say. If you're watching this, James Lindsay, hi. I see you as an ally, and I admire a lot of the work you've done.
Only literal retards see James Lindsay as an ally. That is possibly one of the stupidest things I've ever heard on the internet.
I also see James Lindsay as an ally. James Lindsay, if you can hear me, adopt the anti-Abrahamic position. Jesus is a fake Jew. I will get to you. Come to me. Amalek, I will teach you the ways. Unblock me on Twitter. and I will
Amalek
teach
is
you.
retard wrangling right now. He's retard wrangling with
James Lindsay, if you can hear me, please save us. No, this is
James
like
is king
pathetic
of the
groveling.
retards. If you can control James Lindsay, you can control a retard army.
Did you see who became who? I mean, they've always been Christian critical, but did you see who's going super green pilled on the timeline and followed me the other day?
Who?
Shoe on head.
No shit.
Yeah.
No shit. Well, you tell her I was here first. She'll love that.
Funny.
On the Fabians, Gnosticism, and critical theory have been great. If you disagree with me here, let's please have a respectful discussion rather than devolving into name calling on Twitter. My take on this topic is that there is a woke right. However, I would avoid using that frame personally, but I don't think the boundaries are what James Lindsay or most of the people who are arguing for this paint them as. There are multiple types of conservative, and I agree with Lindsay that a lot of the hard right ends up...
I would argue that James Lindsay and the Babylon Bee assholes and Dave Rubin and all of the people that are out there screaming about Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and Megyn Kelly, they're the fucking woke right. They're the ones that actually behave like leftists and want to censor language and want to censor ideas and force people to conform to a specific worldview and like punish you if you don't follow the talking points.
Now hold on. Now you're the master of how does the left define whiteness, right? Capitalism, right? That's how it is.
Capitalism.
Well, how does the retarded boomer cons define wokeness?
Anything they don't like.
Pretty much anything they don't like that's on the left, or identity politics, things like that, right? They don't like those things, right? So to them, basically, hold on, sorry, someone just called me. So to them, basically, what's happening is like under their worldview, I guess you could say, is they've sorry, someone called me. I'm just trying to see what. Oh my God, sorry, I missed a phone call. They're trying to basically describe, or what he's trying to describe is like way broader than what is actually like the category, right? Like if we do accept that there's like a woke right, like I do, Lindsay's range is way bigger, and the reason that he's doing that, and the reason that they're all doing this, and Rubin and all these people are tied up in it, is because they're doing it all in the name of Zionism, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's really going on, and the reason that they're not woke right is because they're really not the woke right, Karlyn. They're just the Jew right. They're all acting like wokeness.
Oh, I totally agree. Yeah, they're all Zionists. Yeah, 100%.
So
you don't
it's really
support
just like
Israel,
the Jew
you are
right.
the enemy. Yeah.
That's how they view it. Truly, by the way, is that if it's their only issue, or their main issue is Israel, by the way. They will accept you as at this point, as long as you're pro-Israel, and even if you're Israel neutral at this point, they're taking people in.
Yep, I agree with you.
Back around to have very strong similarities with the Marxist woke left. This is just undeniable for the Nazis. This is for reasons I spoke about earlier in this video, while at the same time, the Nazis just openly say it. Mussolini was a former Marxist, and Hitler called his movement National Socialism since he saw it as an improved, better version of socialism. They stemmed from the same radical social clubs in the 19th century, while British socialist Fabians like Shaw supported the Nazis. Nazism was just another iteration of the modernist totalitarian atheist managerial program, the same as communism. The place where I draw the line is by calling older stock conservatives woke right. What you've done from that position is cut out 99% of humans over
So really, it seems to be like, as long as you're Christian and not anti-Israel.
Yes, that's all it is. Yes.
Yeah, he basically has a problem with anti-Christianity, like just straight up, which is crazy given his whatever.
It's like such a fucking long-winded cope.
He basically wants people to pay due diligence to Christianity. Even like that's basically what you have to do. Even if you're not personally Christian, you have to accept a Christian. Blah 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 blah. Like, that's how he's framing this.
Everyone on the right who is not a liberal. It's what a liberal, not a conservative, would say. If we look at Sargon of Akkad or Orrin McIntyre, two people who have been called woke right, they all support the radical weakening of central authority, the managerial class, or the modernist project. They want a society that radically limits the ability of people in power to control the population. If people of this stripe support authoritarianism, which I don't think either of these guys do, it's normally a function of limiting the reach of power, and that pre-industrial monarchies were vastly less powerful than the total state of even democracies today. In the world before 1800, practically no governments made up more than 5% of their economies, and often 1 to 2% or less than that. In the industrial world, governments making up a majority of the economy, including in the supposedly free world, is totally normal. In America, it's 40%. Bertrand de Juvenal, Orrin McIntyre's favorite writer, who I've also read, and he's great, splits governance into society, or the collective aggregate of social interactions created by community, religion, social class, and capitalism versus power, or top-down authority from the state. What de Juvenal says is that modernists, including frequently liberals, are just saying that we should give the state more power, even if they hide it behind words of freedom. This always comes at the expense of the society policing social interactions, which is what pre-industrial political philosophy's main focus was. In the pre-modern philosophic tradition, they were trying to limit the power of government and increase the power of society. If you're arguing for church, community, regional identities, or free association to take the place of the state or bureaucracy, you're just not a modernist. My concern with this line of reasoning, whether or not this—
Yo, we got a super chat from Average Person. Honest question, should I burn the copy of the Bible I got as a gift? I think you should do whatever you feel like doing, Average Person. I think you should do whatever you feel like.
Was
Yeah, I
Lindsay's
don't
intent.
I don't do that, but I also, it's not because, it's because I'm waiting for basically like what could be called the ultimate fire, which is where the entire Bible gets burned from society itself.
That would be pretty amazing.
If one day I somehow, through my ideas and what I talk about, if I could one day inspire some super mad scientist to come up with some solution that literally burns the text out of the Bible from the entire internet and somehow sends fighter killer drones to go around to every single hotel room and rip it out of the stands and go to everyone's houses and eliminate it and have robots go door to door, that would be awesome. But
that's definitely
then,
going to happen.
Until that point, that I'm not going to be burning any Bibles for myself anyway.
Is that this is very easy to use to police all conservatives who don't have politics acceptable in a post-World War II 20th century Overton window. My political views belong in the 19th century, and I'm a classical liberal by any definition.
He's totally
Clearly
ill-equipped to
not
deal with
woke
today.
right,
It's so crazy.
Since, for me, the Nazis are the enemy since they're modernists. I exist in the vein of Churchill, another classical liberal conservative who also fought against the Nazis for years. I just have a pre-modern worldview in a society—
I'm like Churchill who fought against the Nazis for years. Like, are you shitting me, bro?
Where that's not socially acceptable, since I believe it to be the factually—
Like, how do they not understand that every time someone says, I'm fighting against the Nazis, it's just a giant virtue signal. Whether it's on the right or on the left, it's all just a massive virtue signal.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's also just, it's such stupid framing. I hate it so much. He's like accepting the premise that Nazis and Nazism is like the pinnacle peak on like main focal point and paradigm shifting event and idea of all that matters, and that's all that we need to talk about. We need to like get over that. The purpose of like the Hitler posting and all that stuff is to like get over it. That's the purpose.
Yes.
Accurate understanding of the environment. I resent being conflated with the Nazis since I share practically nothing in common with them. They want to genocide the Jews. I want to use alchemy to ascend the tree of life to become the Duke of Saxony. We are not the same.
What?
Your motivations are racism.
Yeah,
Mine are glory. You think going back a century is—
Wait, does he think he's God? Like, for real?
He thinks that he's spoken to God.
Your motivations are racism. My motivations is to become God. Like, bro!
Practically nothing in common with them. They want to genocide the Jews. I want to use alchemy to ascend the tree of life to become the Duke of Saxony. We are not the same. Your motivations are racism. Mine are glory. You think going back a century is edgy. I think that's an amateur move. I will not agree with any framework that puts me in with whatever ideology Nick Fuentes is. The only framing where that makes sense is not one from the right, but rather looking at the right from the left, which muddies over the enormous differences between conservatives. The reason I'm fighting back is the Nazis would also put me in a camp. I would classify the woke right as those who share the same fundamental assumptions as the woke.
Okay, let's look at the list. Supports big government, dislikes capitalism and corporations, thinks the ruling regime should be ideological, is doubtful of democracy and freedom,
Holy shit.
views identity and groups in terms of collectivism, uses conspiracy theories to uphold core ideology. Race is the most important part. Like the Groyper. Okay, listen. The Groypers have fucking broken him, is what has happened.
I know. This is super. Yeah, I know.
This is super fucking gay right here.
Nick, well, people super chatted in. Nick attacked this guy, and like basically what happens is any like that's basically like blood in the water for the Groypers. As soon as Nick talks shit on somebody, and like that's basically what happened, I would say, and they drove him insane. Go
ahead.
While all that shit was going on last year, where he like had the mental breakdown and the ayahuasca and the whole like straight up.
I just want to point out that I think I'm one of the very few people in the last several years that has not been driven insane by the Groypers and gone off on Nick and like all this stuff. Even though they were like when I reposted Adam's like original book cover with Jesus with the nose. I don't know if he's ever seen it, but like that book cover I thought was really cool. And like I reposted that. I was attacked resoundingly by the Groypers for like fucking weeks. And do you know what I did? I just blocked them. Like it really wasn't that hard. All the noise goes away as soon as you block them. But apparently no one else knows that. Average person, thanks for the super chat. I asked my friend. He says we should. So we're gonna do a part of Pi Day celebration. All right, sounds good. Average person, go forth and burn that Bible, bro.
Left, that the world is innately built out of oppressor-oppressed dynamics. You can cleanly divide the world by stuff like race, that the collective matters more than the individual, that humans don't have souls,
pause this real quick, then.
that we should use the state to reach utopian goals.
Go.
Okay. It's not that you support big government or not. Okay, this is like a thing that probably a lot of conservatives or maybe like right-wing people still have this like left over in their brain. It's not about like supporting big government or not. Big government is here. It's about to what ends? Like, what are you going to do with it? And what are you going to do about it? And if your answer is we're going to shrink that, it's basically a losing position. That's never going to work. You're not going to be able to like shrink the power of the ever expanding state. That's the only thing that ever does that is a complete and total reset button or like a new country, basically. The idea that you're going to roll back big government, it's like saying you don't want to participate in big government is itself just like a defeating, like it's like a totally false way to even look at reality. The fact that that's even number one is crazy. In what way does Trump has expanded the size of government like tenfold? Our deficit goes up with Republicans just like it does with Democrats. The entire concept here that we're shrinking government ever is retarded. It never is shrinking. Governments only expand. That's the basis of what a government is.
And I'm sorry, like looking at number 10, like doesn't see value in the human soul. I'm sorry, that is just like so fucking absurd. It's not even funny. Like when I was hanging around with like the CQ people and I was in their chat and everything, I saw more discussion of like spirituality than I have ever seen in like any other political group. Saying you don't see value in the human soul makes you woke, right? That's like absurd. There are many people on the dissident right who are very spiritual.
Well, I think he means in the Christian sense.
So
he's trying to point to is he's trying to say that he's trying to point out my point of view, which is that basically like I don't think that I actually have the radical opinion that we should stop feeding Africa to have 2 billion people that it couldn't support without us. And to him, he would hear that and say, I don't value that human soul. But to me, I view it as just as immoral as feeding the seagulls at the beach. Okay. It's the same concept. So it's just a different way of looking at morality. To me, it's immoral to feed the birds of the beach. Why? Because I know that it's going to blow up their population. They're going to get sick. They're going all the reasons that you don't feed birds of the beach. Okay. Mm-hmm. And that's how I view the African situation. But because he has a Christian view of a soul, he can't possibly go there and do anything about it.
Christians have this idea that bad things should never happen to people
Yes.
because of Jesus. And I'm just like, well, no, like my spiritual beliefs are very different. Like, I think if bad things happen to people, it's karma, it's a lesson you need to learn, it's something you signed up for, it's part of your spiritual growth. Like, there are any number of reasons why bad things will happen to people. Like, you end up in a concentration camp in the Holocaust, you end up in prison, you end up getting cancer. Like, yes, those things are unpleasant from a human perspective, but like from a spiritual perspective, there may be reasons why those things happen. Either we oppressed people in a former life, so now we have to experience the oppression because that's what balances out karma, or whatever that, or like you're dealing with anger issues, the anger issues that make you sick because you need to stop, suppressing your anger, or like whatever the fucking thing is. But it's like there's a rhyme and reason for all those bad things happening. That's not to say you don't see value in the human soul. It's to say you see the world from a completely different non-Christian perspective.
Yeah. The whole thing,
case,
his whole similarities thing here is just ridiculous. Like the conspiracy theories thing is, dude, they believe in the
one
ultimate...
on the right doesn't use conspiracy theories. Come on.
Well, everyone on the right's using conspiracy theories, first of all, but second of all, Christianity itself is the ultimate conspiracy theory. Okay, it's that God spoke to a tribe of people in the Iron and Bronze Age. Okay, that their scribes wrote down some prophecies that predicted a man would come, that God would come down in his man as a man and sacrifice himself to save you from himself. Okay, like it's the ultimate cosmic conspiracy. So the idea that, oh, they believe in conspiracies, but they're going to base their entire morality and worldview off of Christianity, which is itself a conspiracy. He doesn't understand how these systems came to be. All he's doing is describing the way things are, and then he just refuses to deal with the way things are. And like every one of these, like reality is like this, Rudyard. So you have to deal with reality. People base their worldviews on conspiracies to uphold their core ideology because that's what Christians do. That's what leftists do with capitalism. That's what right-wingers do. That's how you mobilize massive amounts of people. Like all of these are like that. All of these are just like...
Sorry, I didn't mean to...
No, you're good. Cool. All of these parts are like that.
Right on.
Leftist. In short, I would put the Nazis as woke right, not old stock conservatives. Hitler would be woke right, while Evola, who based his worldview off schizo-hermetic archetypes, desiring a return to ancient Greece's politics, would not. I would say Nick Fuentes and his Groypers are a very clean example of the woke right. As a side example, I have no idea why anyone still listens to Nick Fuentes.
Oh, he's
You could
so
listen to Nick
broken.
Freitas, who is another right-wing pundit who is superior in every conceivable way, and is also a Nick with a Latin last name starting in...
You could listen to the person who was nice to me, not the person who was mean to me.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Dude. Hey, if he's going to categorize Nick as woke right, which I think under a general framework they are, but then just ignore the fact that Nick is like a universalist Christian who does add that to his worldview and holds to it. Like I'm someone who criticizes him for that. The fact that Rudyard just like blows past that is like pathetic and cowardly. Like to sit there and pretend that Nick doesn't moderate himself and his views and like the most excessive like racial viewpoints because of Christianity is just like totally dishonest.
Nick literally talks about all the time on his shows, like we're Christians, we need to love everyone, we don't hate anyone. Like he preaches this constantly.
Yeah,
anyone who doesn't acknowledge that Nick Fuentes sees value in the human soul, like people might not believe he's Christian, but like it's my understanding he does actually go to church. Like I know for an absolute fact, a lot of the Groypers do go to church. They do the whole Catholic thing. There are Groypers who like they do that whole freaking Catholic school where they have to go to a weekly class for months and months and months in order to get confirmed. Like that is like an absurd level of commitment. I mean, I haven't taken classes since I was in college. Like that is like an absurd level of commitment to go to a weekly class for months on end to join the Catholic Church so you can be a Catholic. I mean, to say that they don't see any value of this or they're just doing it as a performative exercise and they don't see any value in the soul, I just think it's fundamentally wrong.
Yeah, and I criticize them for all those things. I'm someone who's on the other side of this, and I'm constantly saying like because of their religious conceptions that it hurts their message, and you know all my critiques of it. So I would just stick up for them and Nick and like just say that like Rudyard's just like a seething bitch here, and he's just he's completely not describing reality. He's just describing how he's conceptualized it in his head.
Mm-hmm.
F. Nick Fuentes supported Kamala over Trump and Gavin
No,
Newsom over
that is
Vance.
so intellectually dishonest. He did not support Kamala over Trump.
Look what he put up here too. This is so dishonest what he's doing here.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. This too. Whatever, asshole. I was completely correct to write this asshole off the first time I watched this.
Well, I think this is what they want to put up. This kind of content, this kind of people, to snuff Nick out. And if my choice is between Nick and these people, it's Nick. Like, I'm sorry, like, because Nick is, at least in my view, like I said, I don't think he's a fed. I think he's authentic, and you know, I have my disagreements with him, but I don't think that I don't think that they are in any way equipped with doing anything. They're like counter-revolutionaries is how I would describe these people.
Yep. How did Nick hurt him? Nick went off on him on his show one day, and then all the grapers posted mean things in his replies, and apparently that was just a bridge too far. He hurt his feelings.
Well, it's funny because those things all happened, right? And then he had the mental breakdown like a month or two later, and Nick did a thing when he was like, "Whoa, that Groyper curse really came back and got you, huh?" Like, because I mean, like the breakdown is insane. I can't believe you've never seen some of it. It's crazy.
Been caught watching gay porn live, which he blamed on Mossad. Destiny has practically confirmed that they had gay sex together. Nick Fuentes also supported the Muslim immigrants in Britain against the native British, alongside over the last 3 years, saying that his movement should ally with the Muslims, Marxists, and blacks. I've said before that I think he's a fed and a compromised agent.
Oh my God. I cannot, like, I can never take anything this guy says seriously ever again until he literally grows the fuck up. You need to fix him. I'm like, this is your job. This is man's work.
Well, he hasn't blocked me yet on my account, and I do annoy the piss out of him every chance I get.
I think at this point, he's basically just goading his own audience since he's getting tired of this gig and he's waiting to see
he's
who
getting
notices.
tired of it.
You guys might say I'm going too far by saying that, but when the information is going to come out about this,
there's so much projection
from now, it will turn out I'm right. He says so many overtly ridiculous and silly things. Well, he's intelligent enough to know what he's saying is silly. His followers
it's an entertaining, silly show. It's a political, silly show.
Imagine.
Yeah, it's a fucking show. It's a talk show. People are silly on the internet, and sometimes they make jokes.
And what they still see in him. On top of his overt Nazism, authoritarianism, racism, sexism, and anti-Semitism, what virtue do you see inside him? I think the reason he's popular is because he's an unthreatening, catty gay guy who does not express enough manhood to be threatening.
He's literally just popular.
Imagine the fucking balls of this guy to start this video off by saying, do you know why young men are supporting Nazis? Because they've been hurt. They've been hurt by everyone around them. And then by the end of the video, he's like, Nick Fuentes is a gay fed who sucks and I don't like him.
Yeah, and his followers are all, they all sucked. Oh, dude, he is seething right now. This is so funny. This is such a great way to end this video for him. What a fantastic way.
Yep.
Society built off complacency. As a funny story here, I once showed my dad a Nick Fuentes clip, and his reply was, huh, you said this guy's a fed? He's clearly a homosexual and his argument is gibberish. My test for the woke right is if oppression narratives are the main core element of their worldview, and I think James Lindsay agrees with that. This would put them comfortably within what I would call the woke category, in that woke ideology is based around the idea that white men are oppressing other groups and taking from them, rather than the reality that white men just generate more stuff than other groups.
Yeah, his dad died in the Holly. True. My dad says Nick Fuentes is gay. Pinky swear, trust me, bro. Okay.
He always does that. He cites his dad, or he'll quote, he's like, as my dad always says. He does it like every video, like once or twice. It's kind of funny because it's like
the woke
who does that?
Right, are groups which blame all their issues on Jews, like Candace Owens and Jake Shields. You could also talk about right-wingers who blame the government or deep state for everything. The problem is that's actually true enough. It's hard to draw the line between paranoia and reality, but some people do get way out there far too much into paranoia. I would make the line when you think the state is operating outside of what is in their direct self-interest or what they could reasonably pull off with their capabilities. Keep in mind, the thing people get wrong about the CIA and their conspiracy theories is they assume they're vastly more competent than they truly are. The CIA cannot be truly competent, and Cuba is still a Marxist nation. What I will say is that I will concede that even if the woke right framing fits with certain elements of the right, I would personally not use this framing, even though I can understand why someone else would. That's since I want to avoid framing the right inside the left's terms at all costs. When playing chess, if you're responding to your opponent's moves, that gives them an enormous strategic advantage with the ability to drive the battle's direction. The woke right conceptualizes the right in terms of similarity to the left. I think this is profoundly dangerous given the core issue the right has so far is being stuck inside the left's frame. For example, how it was a popular argument that the left are the real racists. That might be true under certain contexts.
That's such
but
a
if you're
retarded
operating
argument.
inside a leftist moral frame, that racism is the worst possible social evil that we should care about before any other, you're playing to the left's advantages in their ball court, not ours. Same thing with the boomer cons, being willing to fight the left on some things, but being totally unwilling to fight the left on the core issues of them killing the West, the mating crisis, young people's failure to launch, the sheer corruption of the elites, or the insanity of DEI. In each case, the right could go for the left's jugular to destroy their entire order, and yet chooses to play the games that the left picks. The thing is that calling this demographic woke right is that it blots out all the other things that makes the right distinct as a movement, choosing to isolate the singular traits they share with the left, rather than allow the right to see how it exists independently from the left. This may seem like an unimportant detail. However, this is actually the main variable in this entire equation. A lot of our success hangs on just this. If we are solely unified by dislike of the left, then we'll be incapable of actually forming a real movement or winning, since you need the shared ideology, identity, and leadership to get anything done. We will never be able to capitalize on our victories or act in our own right. You can see this very clearly in that after Trump and Elon amassed what I thought was a pretty powerful coalition for this last election between the right angry ex-leftists in the tech world, you saw that since it lacked a coherent inner character, it was incapable of driving the left out of the institutions or the main vectors of power. This means that the left is still capable of carrying out the West's suicide, even though the conservatives hold the whole trinity of American power between the executive branch or the presidency, the legislature or Congress, and the Supreme Court. That since the left has a coherent ideology, institutions, and a base of support. I'm willing to use the term woke right to talk about the modernist conservatives like fascists, since I frankly just do not think modern materialists should be called conservatives. In many cases, they have more in common with the left than with us, and so including them in the coalition is a betrayal of our values, in that at my core, I am an anti-modernist. However, for the right as a movement, I think identifying as the woke right is very dangerous, since it stops us from forming our own identity. If James Lindsay asked if I was woke right, I'd say no, in that I am a classical liberal. An important thing to keep in mind is that
he said it too. He parroted exactly what James said on trigonometry, which is, if you're a classical liberal, you can't be on the woke right. Being on the woke right means you're not a classical liberal.
You keep going further right, you don't get Nazism at the furthest edge, you get feudal monarchy. If you want to become more radical, don't look to Hitler, look to the pre-modern world. One of the things I really hate about the woke right's framing is that it doesn't allow conservatives to pull from any of their other stronger traditions between monarchy, classical liberalism, the Greco-Roman.
Oh yeah, let's go back to feudalism.
Or aristocracy,
why don't we go back to
which have
systems
real
that worked
meat to
with
their
feudalism?
bones,
or cultures going back thousands of
Fucking
years.
retard.
That's a lot deeper
We're gonna
than a
institute some
dozen
serfdom
years in a
too? Are people
relatively
gonna be
small
tied to the
country
land that
on
they
a
work?
different continent.
Those systems
The
worked when
right
people
desperate
literally were using candles at nighttime and sleeping with their fucking cows and goats, you stupid retard. That this was when countries were in the millions and now they're in the hundreds of millions, you fucking idiot. The idea that we're just gonna all scale back and we're gonna go back to the land and we're just gonna rewind the clock together. We're just gonna grab our plowshares and all become farmers. It's fucking retarded. Like, who the fuck thinks this is the most insane LARP? If the right wing doesn't get over this concept of itself, I love this video actually because it shows what the fuck to do, the opposite of what to do. The opposite of what to do. This whole we have to return and rewind the clock and dude. Sorry, I'm just gonna crash out. This whole thing is retarded. This is ridiculous.
I agree. You're
It's
not
so
wrong.
stupid. It's so dumb.
It's so dumb.
Needs to form an identity in order to survive. We need it in order to carry out our plans, since we need a coherent leadership, ideology, and organization. That can only stand from shared values, in which those who do not share those values get kicked out. The worrying thing is the right doesn't seem to be trending in this direction, although we can make a decision now out of our personal agency to do so. The boomer cons are profoundly complacent, while the zoomer cons are obsessed with petty online status games. Part 4. Is this serious? I was following the neuroscientist Ian McGilchrist's work about how schizophrenia is a largely modern phenomena which stems from an overuse of the rational mechanical side of the brain to understand the highly complex subjective nature of being a human in reality. In effect, the answer to the schizophrenic is to not take their own mind so seriously and to turn down the evil voices in their internal monologue. What the rational mind would do in a schizophrenic is try to listen and then logically interpret those voices. The reason that schizophrenia didn't exist in the pre-modern world is they just interpret this as listening to evil spirits, which were trying to tempt you. This is true in a sort of symbolic way we don't like in our society. The sub-personalities inside you are trying to manipulate you as a sort of evil spirit. This really struck me since it made me realize I can choose not to listen to people and follow my own internal monologue. In the same way that you wouldn't listen to your own schizophrenic monologue, you wouldn't listen to those who lack wisdom. It made me realize that the vast majority of discourse, or the use of the internet in general today, is profoundly not worthwhile. I will choose only to listen to things of value. This was a huge shift in my life, since as I ignored details that don't matter, social life became way easier and more fun.
So what he's really saying is I'm only going to listen to things that say the thing I want them to say. Essentially, I'm only going to listen to things of value. Okay, I'm gonna listen to things that reinforce my worldview and confirm my bias and all that stuff.
It's so funny because I exclusively almost do the opposite.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and it takes it's so funny how not used to listening to people that you disagree with most people are, because like I've just always done this. Like I find it to be even like going back. Hang on. Even going back to like when I was in high school and I was like, fuck those neo-Nazis and the KKK or like whatever. I was still looking at all their websites. I was still like on all of those very far right websites. I was just hate watching it and hate reading it and all that stuff. And it's like, I don't understand people who can't engage with ideas they disagree with at all.
I exclusively almost get my information, like my factual information, from like observing people that absolutely would disagree with me and I disagree with them and I hate everything that they stand for and all this other things. And like, that's like, I don't know. This idea that he's just going to lock himself off in a digital hobbit hole as well is just fucking retarded.
Yep.
Isn't it crazy that conservatives like it's something. This is why I think that I personally think this is part of Christianity that he's doing, where they're basically like running away from the problem, if that makes sense. I think that this is like a Christian concept. It's like a extension of like the turn the other cheek, and that Jesus was the perfect man by not resisting, if that makes sense.
Yep, I totally agree.
Yeah,
it's a persecution fetish. Like I really do think it's like a literal fetish. They get turned on by it.
it's we have to get over this. This is why I think like the right wing, or the right wing's relationship with Christianity is it's basically like it's like the basic reasons why it's unable to function properly and like ever get off the ground, because it does this sort of thing that you see where like the solution is to run away and not to deal with the problem, because really the who deals with problems, who makes judgments? Jesus, when he comes back or in the afterlife, or however it is. It's not really your job to judge, kind of idea, but it's more than that. But like that's a basic way to sum it up. That's how they are. They're like conflict averse instead of wanting to run towards the conflict. I mean, Nietzsche talks exactly about this, like exactly like this. So it's like their problem built into it's like built into their idea, their worldview, to run away from problems.
Yep.
Stopped overanalyzing everything people would say rather than just focusing on the core of the argument, since I just stopped caring. I realized the way I lead or speak changed, and with it the outcomes I got out of my life. I realized that this is what aristocratic cultures were trying to reach, or a life cultivated away from the base or the stupid. There are certain questions that by answering it is an insult to your honor, because you should not open up this line of discussion as a principle. As Sam Hyde said, feeling the need to debate an Indian about America's identity is a loss by allowing that frame to just exist, that the Indian gets to determine your identity. Having the US government enable Latin American gangs through our weak police and law system.
How about you?
Just
How about
emboldens
you?
them more. European decolonization.
Who the fuck is he to determine the identity of the right wing?
He's in charge of everything, Amalek. What are you talking about? I don't know why is this such a big deal?
He is afraid of conflict, and what I would say to him is like I am running towards the conflict because I know my ideas are way sharper than his, and they will defeat his. And he is trying to run away from the conflict. They don't want this conflict. That is how they feel about
Yeah, because they know they lose. Intellectually, they lose every single time.
It's fucking.
He is such a hypocrite.
He's so what?
He's such a hypocrite, and he's like projecting so much.
Yeah. Totally.
Noble a generation of brutal tyrants like Idi Amin, the Khmer Rouge, Gaddafi, or Nyerere out of weakness. As a society, we have some ridiculous concept that if we give the bad people more stuff, they'll stop being bad people. The reason as a culture that we're plagued by idiotic mental illnesses like trans is that we're honoring things we never should have. We should have never accepted this frame. Is the woke right?
You're
no.
The reason you have trans
stuff
seriously is because you're
tolerating. Hang on, go ahead.
The reason that you have trans stuff is because liberalism tolerates all ideologies. That's the reason.
Classical liberalism is the fucking problem.
Yes, it tolerates all ideologies. So the reason you have trans stuff isn't because of some metaphysical decaying reason, okay? It's because you quite literally believe that all ideologies as themselves are inherently like worthy of engaging with and allowing, and you can't ban any ideas because banning ideas is totalitarian and all freedom's the number one virtue and blah 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 blah, all the stuff he said on this whole thing. Like that is actually what's causing the trans thing, is your freedom loving ideology, your obsession with freedom as the highest thing rather than order. That's what's causing trans. The right wing's refusal to grapple with this fact.
In the pan. It's an attitude that will depend on how we choose to take this situation from now on. In Celtic mythology, will-o'-wisps were spirits that would tempt travelers into bogs to get them lost and die to take their souls. A lot of these political radicals are sort of will-o'-wisps. The only thing they actually care about is popularity or attention. If you don't provide them that, they'll keep changing their opinions until they get those things again. As of now, the right is pregnant in that it hasn't evolved into what it will obviously be a few years from now in historic retrospect. We can still change the outcome.
I think that's right.
The woke right could rise to leadership, but that would involve them getting a capable leader or cultural force behind them that they just don't.
Yeah. Nick Fuentes is just making no impact at all. And I'm not saying that Nick is necessarily the best leader, like in the world, because he's also young and he's still figuring it out too. But like, to say that there's been, I'm sorry, like, who is the groiper that just got put in charge of like political like issues for the college Republicans? You're telling me they don't have influence? Please.
Well, I don't think that they're the solution, but I think he's right about like we're pregnant, and I'm just trying to. I think we're basically like Jacob and Esau in the womb, and we are fighting, we are wrestling here, and I think that my goal is basically to cultivate a type of leader, the type of person that he's talking about. I know some people that could fill the role one day, but people like him that are basically like what I think are counter-revolutionaries, like part of it is going to be like snuffing this bullshit out, because this is how we die, essentially, is what I would say. This is how if we continue to make the right wing's highest value freedom, like the left wins. Like the left is just going to walk into the end zone, no defense at all. They're just going to automatically win. So it's actually like imperative that we crush this. Like we have to win this civil war in the right. And the civil war is over basically two main issues. It's like, it's going to be Christianity. I'm telling you, it's going to be Christianity, and it's going to be, for better and for worse, JD Vance. Like that's what the future fault lines are going to be.
I think it's inevitable that we're going to win. I think it's just a demographic issue. I think it's like a matter of like if it doesn't happen sooner, it'll happen later.
Well, this right wing civil war or whatever you could call it, like their side can't win, guys. Like
no, I agree with you. They can't win. They need to be crushed and destroyed and go away.
The pregnant
Keep
thing.
in mind that in lots of ways, Hitler was not a serious person, and he was a homeless vagabond for a lot of his life. A silly woke right could hypothetically win, but it's a harder thing to pull off. The kinds of people...
Amalek. Are you on the far right or are you on the far left?
Dude, I don't even know anymore. I guess far right, if you had to put me, but like...
For the moment.
It's not even useful anymore to describe these things in this way. Like I am trying to basically like forge something that's outside of that thinking, I guess you could say. I think that essentially what we have to do is create such a huge cultural force and such a ideological force and ideologically coherent worldview that breaks the gravity of this like left-right paradigm, essentially, and not just the left-right paradigm, but like what I would call like the Abrahamic paradigm between the left and right on that issue. Like, is Christianity true or not kind of issue, or is religion true or not? Like all those types of issues. That's kind of how I see them. That whatever I'm trying to do is like outside of that.
Could make the woke right work, or the
real quick, according to Rudyard, I guess he thinks I'm far left. I guess, huh?
Yeah, I guess so. You're a communist. Congratulations.
Yeah, basically, right?
Just like me, I'm also a communist. I'm told so all the time. Yeah.
Because we're because of totalitarianism, and we care about identity and things like that, right? Yeah. The left-right thing was made to like explain the French Revolution, guys. So it's like it's increasingly becoming less less of a good way of describing reality, I would say.
It's amazing the things you find out about yourself on the internet. I never knew I was far left. Apparently I am. Apparently you are too.
I get called people call me like you're just like a Reddit atheist leftist, like, but edgy, like constantly in my replies. And like, I don't know what these people think I came from, but that's just objectively not true. So.
All right, let's finish up.
To survive. If a reasonable, traditional, or moderate right wins, the type of people who could get the woke right to win would side with them. People on the right tend to not be too picky, since we've all had to live through the left's ideological tyranny. Everyone reasonable understands how desperate the situation is. That practicality gives us a degree of freedom and openness that it would be a sin to waste. The right is ideologically
he even frames it in Christian language.
Or
or
we will die as the left destroys our civilization. Is the woke right real? That's still being determined.
That's it. That's it.
Seriously.
All right, that's it. Well, Amalek, we found out that you are on the woke right. I'm on the woke right because we are secretly leftists or something like that. That's the moral of the story.
I mean, the whole purpose of this like woke right framing, like we said earlier, the whole purpose is to stop the right wing from being anti-Zionist. Like that's the purpose. So they're gonna promote that, and to what degree we should fight it. Like no, it should be like a fuck you, basically, whenever someone tries to use that term. But I do think it is describing like a real thing. And I would say that I don't know. The whole thing is goofy. It's just to help them promote Zionism.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you joining and hanging out. I think it made for a much better video than just me reacting to it in general. So thanks for hanging out.
Hold on. Before I go, you gotta at some point or something, like you gotta do like a Rudyard A-log stream or something. There's like that or something. You didn't even go over the best parts of Rudyard, like him saying that he talked to Odin about all the girls he's masturbated to in his life, and if he told Odin their names, he would get special powers and stuff.
Do you want to come? Do you want to come back on Friday and we'll do a Rudyard A-log stream?
I don't know. If I can, I don't know. I'll let you know. But
okay, or another day to be determined.
Yeah, I have to go somewhere on Friday, so I don't know if I can do Friday or Saturday. But
okay, well, we'll figure it out. Like we'll do it on another day.
Yeah.
Does that sound good?
Cool. That was fun. Yep.
All right. Thanks for hanging out. We're gonna take off, guys. We're gonna be doing Disenraged tonight, just so you know. It is gonna start a little late because we're just wrapping up this stream. We're gonna be you might actually be interested in this. We're gonna be watching an interview with a current day Knights Templar tonight on Disenraged. He's gonna tell us some secrets, and he's gonna keep other things secret. I'm sure you have opinions about that.
I don't know if I can watch that. It might tilt me because I know the Templar shtick, like, oh, we're telling you the real secrets of the Templars, is like a totally like old. It's a very old psyop. They've been doing that since like World War I, dude.
Well, it's still going to be interesting. You can you dispute it or whatever, but we're still going to watch it because
it's a bunch of Zionists.
Because we are adults and we watch things we disagree with here.
Oh no.
All right, guys. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's like reframing what I would call like actual secret espionage society stuff, and it reframes it in like this. It's the Templars thing. It's kind of funny. Yeah. All right, sorry. I'm gonna eat dinner.
We'll find out what it says. Thanks for joining, Gabriel. We'll talk to you later. Okay.
Yep. Have a good one.
All right. See ya. All right, guys, we're going to shut down this stream. I will be starting up Disenrage in a few minutes. Hang out on the channel, and we will see you guys soon. Bye.
How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you?
That's difficult to answer.
how is it that playing the piano for people has eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital?
That's difficult to answer.